It is. I'd like to call this meeting to order. As Carl is used to doing that, so he's a little bit startled. As Secretary of the School Board, it is my honor and privilege to call this meeting to order. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In this special organizational meeting, we dispense with a lot of the normal protocols, and we'll go directly to calling for nominations for the position of Chairman of the School Board. Do I hear any nominations for that purpose?
I'd like to nominate Mrs. Ida Wright.
Mrs. Haynes nominates Ida Wright.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Carl Persis. Are you prepared for the question?
Yes.
Question, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Unanimous vote.
Yay.
Congratulations. Madam Chairman.
Madam.
The second item of business for reorganization is the call for nominations for Vice Chairman of the School Board. Do I hear any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Miss Linda Cuthbert.
Ruben Colon nominates Mrs. Cuthbert. Do I? Seconded by?
I'll take them both.
I'll say Madam Chairwoman, so I get to say that again. Seconded by Mrs. Wright. Are you prepared for the question?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Yay.
Congratulations. And at this time, I'm going to turn the gavel over to Mrs. Wright, and she will conduct the rest of the meetings.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you, Superintendent Egner. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Our next agenda item is 3.01, approval of our school board meeting dates. If you get everyone open that.
Give me one
Are there
second.
any dates we need to look at, change, make any adjustments to?
Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Give me a
Please.
second too.
Yes, sir.
Chair.
Just one that I had already on December 11th, that's coming up. It's not one of these dates, but December 11th, I had already volunteered to be on a field trip with Futures,
Okay,
or what, 11th or 10th? I
10th.
think our
10th.
meeting is on the 10th, isn't it?
correct.
10th.
Yeah, December 10th. No, mine is on the 11th, so I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm almost there. Just hang on.
Madam Chair, I have no objections to any of those.
Okay.
Neither do I, ma'am. I'm good.
Okay.
Do we still want to keep that August meeting just to be one?
Yes, and I see we have,
Because that was a long stretch the last time.
But we did it so that when school started, we could go visit our schools.
so we can either move it up.
I just remember that being such a long stretch, and we had stuff we needed to take care of, which we had to wait a long time. I mean, I'm okay with it. It's just a question.
Okay.
You can always add a meeting later.
Right, if we see we need it.
If you see we need to.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look at it in July and then make a decision.
Are any of the meetings in conflict with any of the Florida School Board Association conferences or?
Theirs is usually in beginning of June.
I'm
I'm
looking
saying
right now.
June, it will probably fall right after the 8th, the meeting June 8th,
June 9th.
and it probably start June 9th.
Our
So-
meeting is June 9th in yellow.
I mean, June 9th.
So the conference is April 4th to the 6th.
Is that legislative session? Our legislative session is
It's
in
January.
January.
Correct. So the 4th through the 6th is oh, that's National School Board Association. So FSBA is the 10th to the 12th.
So if we wanted, based on what Mr. Cologne said about the long break, what if we just went 1 week earlier and went August? Because isn't school starting back August 10th? So what if we went August 18th
So the break wouldn't be as
instead
long.
of August 25th? I mean, what if we just went up 1 week earlier? Is that? Because the 25th and the 8th are just really close together also when we do the
Okay.
August and September, but
So you're proposing us moving up to August 18th, correct?
yes, if we just want to shorten the,
Okay.
That's
And-
fine with me.
And there doesn't seem to be any conflict with FSBA.
Okay. Yes.
Madam Chair, you haven't approved the contract yet, obviously, because it'll be this afternoon, but there is going to be, under the terms of the agreement, a requirement that the superintendent be evaluated essentially in the first 2 weeks of August. So I just want to make you aware of that. That's probably something that could be set
because it
ad
said
hoc.
that, it said the date of, by August 15th. when
On
we
or
read
before
it.
August 15th, yeah. It's designed to be after the data has come in, from
Right.
the state of Florida. And so that's available to you for purposes of setting goals and determining whether or not performance goals have been met and those kind of things. I'm just mentioning that as
So
a
does the
separate
eight-
item.
So does the 18th work better than the 25th then? Because,
Or the 12th.
well, then the 12th, we're back to having a meeting the first week of school when everybody starts. So they start on Monday and we have a meeting on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thinking was to do it before school started. Mr. Persis could probably speak to this better, or should speak to this more than me, but I think that's the idea. The reason we picked the 15th, as I recall, Mr. Persis, was just to be a drop dead date. In other words, we could do it in July. It's just on or before, but the idea being, Mr. Persis.
Yeah, I believe that was, we kind of talked about when does the data come in, and he thought, Dr. Fritz thought it usually comes in, second, third week of July. We should have most of the school data, all the data except, as we all know, the graduation rates, which come in January. But other than that, so we thought, well, that would be a good time to go over his evaluation, and also to, if not in July, to set the goals for the next school year. So he would know what his goals are, before the school year starts. But in order to have those goals, we wanted to make sure we were aware of how we ended up from the previous year. So, you know what I'm saying? We don't. So we're in that kind of that funny time frame, July, August, right in there, so.
So would we consider maybe having it on the 4th and do a special meeting for that purpose?
I think that's a good idea, just for
That would give us
that.
plenty of time just to address that. Then we would have our regular scheduled meeting on the 25th, because then we can address the contract. If we need to do anything else for the 4th,
Yeah.
have a really short meeting. Would you be able to have it that morning, since we can,
This far out, yeah.
okay.
The
So,
special meeting will be listed on here, though.
no, we're gonna put it as a meeting, because we have to do his contract and give him his goals. And so if we do it on the 4th, we should have all the
That's
data,
August 4th?
August 4th.
So you want me to make it a
So-
regular meeting?
Right, and the only reason I'm saying that, because then we don't wanna interfere with the first week of school, because we like to go to our schools the first week. And that would be the week prior, when teachers actually would come back that Tuesday.
And
Just-
we'd be tying him up the first week also.
Yeah, the thinking,
Yeah.
I think, was to get this out of the way
Yes.
before school started,
Right.
because
Right.
everybody's busy doing
And
their
so if we're
thing.
gonna align some goals and school starts that week, it almost seems like those would be goals for the following year, because
Oh, they are.
for not for this school year. See what I'm
Do
saying?
you want me to speak to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Or do you
Yeah.
want to speak to it?
Well,
Do you want me to speak?
we can both speak to it.
Well, I mean, what we've observed and encountered, I guess is the best way to put it, is in doing these contracts for superintendents, what we've all encountered and have observed is that we put in these goals in the contract, and then the timing of the hiring drives the timing of the evaluation, because you're saying, well, let's evaluate in 1 year. Well, then we get together to evaluate, and it's like, well, we don't know anything, or we're not going to know for 3 months, or whatever. So what Mr. Persis wanted to do was to adjust, given the fact that we're in December, adjust the timing of this. So what we did was we created what amounts to a 6 or 7 month period from now until August 15th, thereabouts, where there would be some non-specific goals that would be set, and you all under the contract are required to do that by the 11th of February, and then he would work on those. And then on the 15th, he would be evaluated on that first 6 month non-specific, and then at the same time he's being evaluated and his performance is being evaluated, you'll also be determining what the goals will be for the next 12 months, and then that gets him on a August to August going forward, and that August date being important because July is when the data comes in, and so then we all, it all makes sense, where in the past it hasn't. So
Yeah.
we worked hours to get this done.
This is one of the stickiest things we had to deal with, because he wanted to have some feedback from the board to see, how is he doing, but at the same time, we understood that we didn't want to either give him credit or criticize him for the academic achievement for this school year, because he could say, well, I wasn't here at the beginning, or I was, you know what I'm saying? So we thought, okay, so let's just, we'll come up as a board with some goals for you to achieve between the time you start until July, August, and then we'll evaluate you on those goals. And for instance, one of those goals may be to create a new strategic plan, something like that. Something that's not like related to we want to have fewer schools rated as a D or an F, because that's kind of like out of his realm right now. So that kind of went along good, and then his attorney was really adamant about, well, we need to have he needs to know when after that he would be evaluated, and what will the cycle be, and then we came up with, well, this is a perfect time frame, to do it, and he agreed, and so we moved off of that one. So that's why we kind of are with that. Hope that suffices, but that's what.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Colleagues, are you okay? So August 4th, have it a regular meeting, but it's for a singular purpose, and that would be for the superintendent's evaluation and goal setting for the following academic year.
Sounds good.
Yes, Linda?
I just have one question. Is that during pre-planning?
It is.
It is.
Okay, so if it's in the morning, will that tie him up from going into pre-planning? Doesn't pre-planning start on Tuesday? That would be the first day of pre-planning?
It starts on Tuesday, but typically Tuesday is on their campuses for the first day.
Well, I know, but a lot of times the superintendent was with me at pre-planning this year. Usually the superintendent goes out to the schools during pre-planning.
Yeah, and
say
he
hello.
can plan that for the evening or the next day, maybe doing
Okay.
a welcome. Like Carl said, I mean, especially if the strategic plan is finished, we really do need to be able to give him some direction of our
Oh,
expectation.
that's no problem. I was
And
just
think
thinking of the
that will-
4th.
I think everybody will understand that. Then he'll have the rest of the week and the following couple
Okay.
of weeks. We won't be interfering with the rest of pre-planning. We won't
activity.
interfere with the first day of school.
Yeah.
We won't meet again till the 25th.
Okay.
And that meeting won't necessarily have to be long, but I think we need to do it on the
Let's give him
4th.
some direction.
Yeah. to give
So
him
that
some
he
direction.
he may need to make some tweaks
Exactly.
for the upcoming school
Exactly.
year. And that's where I think the fact that, so what I'm okay with is the fact that we'll probably likely be working on our strategic plan, which that too will give some indication of what we'd like to see. And so he's really not gonna be directionless, because if we do the strategic plan between January and June,
Right. Exactly.
It'll,
I was getting nods from staff, so Patty Core, I think, wanted to add
Hi,
to the
Patty Core, Area
discussion.
Superintendent. Next year, pre-planning starts on August 11th.
Oh, the 11th.
So if you're talking about August 4th, that's not
Fine.
pre-planning week.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. All right.
So, wait, Patty, so, excuse me.
Go, no,
Madam
go
Chair. So if pre- I'm
Old
sorry.
habits.
you're acknowledged.
If pre-planning starts August 4th, so when do the
August
students
11th.
come back then?
August 11th is pre-planning, teachers return, students return the 17th.
Oh, so it's later. It's later.
So usually that week of August 4th or later in that week would be some new teacher events, but
Sure, sure.
those haven't probably been scheduled yet.
Great.
That'd be good.
Thanks for the clarification.
Well, since school starts later, then do you guys want me to move that meeting up, the first meeting in August up, then to have your regular meeting earlier in August?
No, because if we do it the 4th, I think we'll be good. If we need to address something, we will have plenty of time to know if we need to add something to the agenda, and just leave it at the 25th, I mean, the 25th.
Yeah.
25th.
And then if it's gonna be on the fourth, then we're only doing the one item, doesn't that have to be a special meeting, not a regular meeting?
Doesn't have to be. No, you can be a regular meeting. I mean,
Something else may come up.
well, I was about to say, I'm sure you're gonna be, I'm sure there'll be a
You
consent
think?
agenda. What do you bet?
Entirely possible, something else could come
I
up.
think Mr. Agner needs to make a special appearance to hold some kind of accountability for the scores.
I'll bring cookies.
Cupcakes.
Fresh baked?
What time, everybody?
With 9 o'clock, you said if we know this early,
Yeah, that's fine.
let's say 10, 10, 10?
10.
10 is good.
10, we'll do 10 a.m. that one day. Any other changes, concerns, colleagues?
I don't see anything.
If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the calendar with the one additional meeting on August 4th.
Madam Chair, it's a pleasure to make the first motion of your one-year tenure so far. To make a motion that we approve our 2020 school board meeting schedule.
Is there a second?
As a-
Madam Chair, as the
amended.
first,
As amended, yes,
as
amended.
the
amended,
first,
yes, ma'am.
second of your chairmanship,
Uh,
I would like to
Madam Chair.
second this motion.
Already she's showing her authority.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
I just got the information that I wanted,
That's fine.
I'm just trying to, I think I have a conflict on January the 28th.
Okay,
Yeah, that would be a meeting that I need to be, well, I have a conflict, let's just say.
Okay.
That would be hard for me.
so my question, would you be available that Monday if we needed to change? Because that's so early with the new superintendent, I would like for all of us to be here the first.
Sure. Yeah, I would be, January 27th. Yes.
Yes,
I, at some point, could have a conflict in January, February, but I am not going to know because it'll be waiting on someone to receive their orders to finally say they're coming home.
okay.
So I can't tell you. I mean, I have no conflict at this time. I just know that at some point
You may, okay.
I'm,
Can you look at your calendars
I'm
and see if
fine.
this 20, that Monday is fine?
good.
Okay, so we will, Madam Motion Maker, I'm gonna need you, Vice Chair, to amend your motion, please.
Yes, ma'am, it is a pleasure to make a motion, the first amended motion of the 2020 school year, that we amend our meeting from January 28th to the Monday, January 27th. Make a motion.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you. The motion has been properly moved and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No opposal? Unanimous. Thank you, colleagues. So we have our 2020 meeting calendar. Thank you, thank you. Moving to our next agenda item, 3.02, approval of facsimile signature.
What is a facsimile signature?
you have to approve that I can sign via fax.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose? Ayes have it and the motion is carried. Thank you. Moving on to 3.03, FSBA Legislative Liaison and Alternate. Currently, Linda, do you serve as our legislative liaison and you're the alternate? Would the two of you like to retain that, or would we like to pass that to the gentleman?
That's fine. We can pass it. I mean,
Are you interested, or you would like to keep it as is?
No, I'd be okay.
Okay, legislative. Carl, you're serving as chair though for
For the coalition.
no, for the coalition.
He's chair.
Well, I'm not the chair yet.
Well, you will be.
Thank you.
Would you?
So I don't know when that occurred. When does that occur? Is that occurring,
Oh,
is that gonna occur in
December.
June?
No, December.
No,
In
December, in a
when
couple
we
of
go
weeks.
to FSBA at the coalition
You'll
meeting
become
there,
the chair. at
you're the
that.
vice chair, you're to
And our
become the chair.
Well, I've had a great reprieve here, about 30 months, 30 days. Not being-
You signed up for that.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was the June.
Yes,
No.
no, it's at the breakfast.
It's at that
December,
breakfast,
that
which I think
coalition
is on December 3rd or the morning of the 4th, one of those mornings.
Okay,
Your days are numbered.
okay, so,
That's
so,
2 weeks and 2 days.
so tell me, ask me again, Ms. Wright.
Well, I want to know if you're interested in being FSBA alternate. However, if you're stacked, if you think you have too much, I'm sure one of the
I
ladies
can
would
be,
love
I can
to
be
be
your,
an
the
alternate.
alternate, that's
I
no
think
problem.
that's a great suggestion, Madam Chair, and I concur wholeheartedly.
Okay, so are we saying unanimously that FSBA Legislative Liaison will be Ruben Colon and our alternate would be Linda Cuthbert?
Yes.
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 Can
Thank
we
you.
vote on that consensus? It's fine, all right, thank you. At this time, our meeting is adjourned.
Right.
All right.
Yay, great job, Madam Chair, great job.
Thank you.
Give me 2 minutes.
Anytime.
We'll take a 2-minute break and then we'll come right back to our special meeting,
No, the leasing meeting.
Leasing.
Lease Corporation. We
Lease
have
Corporation.
The Leasing, Volusia County School Board Leasing Corporation meeting. At this time, we need to, item 2.01, election of the president of Volusia County School Board Corporation.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we or nominate Ms. Ida Wright to be the president of the Leasing Corp.
Okay.
I second it.
The motion was made by Ruben Colon, second by Jamie Haynes. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those who oppose, ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Moving to item 3.01, election of vice chair for Volusia County School Board Leasing Corporation. Vice President, thank you, of the Volusia County School Board Leasing Corporation.
I make the motion that Mrs. Linda Cuthbert be the vice president of the Volusia County School Board Leasing Corporation.
A second.
The motion has been properly moved by Jamie Haynes, second by Carl Persis. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose, ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next item, 4.01, the election of the secretary/treasurer for Volusia County School Board Leasing Corporation. I entertain a motion.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
Are we gonna name Mr. Agner and then,
We have to, because he's our superintendent.
because we haven't voted on contracts yet, and then we'll have to reconvene for the leasing after December 2nd?
December 10th, yes,
December
ma'am.
10th? Okay, I wanted to be clear on
No,
what
you're
we were
very,
doing.
you're correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I so move that Mr. Agner be the secretary/treasurer for the Volusia County School Board Leasing Corporation.
A second.
The motion has been properly moved by Ms. Jamie Haynes, second by Linda Cuthbert. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those that oppose, ayes have it, and the motion is carried, and this meeting is adjourned.
Isn't it nice to go through meetings so
It is.
It's not happening for the
It
next.
is.
Oh, wait, can I say give her a mic? It's a lot of work on your part.
So stretch while Connie is getting ready. Take your time, Connie, take your time. Okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now have a presentation. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Egner. Superintendent Egner.
I'm sorry, I'm still pulling up the stuff.
That's okay.
Thank you very much, and actually the presentation is by School Board Attorney Ted Doran, and so Mr. Doran.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm happy to proceed. I just did want to mention, maybe before we go forward with this, we need to also add to the agenda the administrator on assignment contract for your consideration as the next item. I don't know if you want to maybe do that now before we get into the meeting.
Yes, so is there a motion to amend the agenda, today's agenda, to add administrative appointment as item number 2.02?
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been properly moved and second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All that oppose? Ayes have it, the motion is carried. We have amended our agenda to add 2.02 for administrative appointment. ERP presentation?
As that the,
We're in the special meeting.
we're in the special meeting.
Okay, well, maybe I'm on the wrong one then. I am.
I think we're back to the superintendent's contract.
It's the next meeting.
Oh, it's the next one.
That was a
Okay.
workshop, yeah.
Thank you. So, 2.01, approval of superintendent's contract. Mr. Dorn?
Yes. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so Mr. Persis and I met with Dr. Fritz for going on about 3 hours yesterday, and his legal counsel was there as well. It was a very productive meeting, and we worked through a wide range of issues. You have been provided a copy of the proposed employment agreement, and what I would like to do, although I can certainly answer any questions if they come up, is to highlight some or all of the things within this contract that would not have been, for instance, in our superintendent's contract previously. So maybe I just go through by paragraphs. Paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 essentially remain unchanged with the exception of the vehicle in 3.6. So it got modified only slightly. It is the case that the superintendent cannot use the district automobile for personal use without incurring income as a result of his use of it or compensating the district. So what has been the past practice is that the superintendent drives the vehicle, for instance, to the closest school near his residence or her residence, depending on how far back you go when you talk about superintendents. And then his personal vehicle is there and he drives home. And that is acceptable for IRS purposes. There was a question raised about how much Dr. Fritz could use the district automobile for personal use. He wanted to stay within Volusia County and maybe use it for personal use. The answer to that was you can't really do that unless you're going to incur income and as a result. So he's fine with that, and we did add this provision, which is allowed under the IRS code requirements, that a de minimis amount of personal use of the vehicle is acceptable. And that would be, for instance, you're driving home, you stop by Publix to pick something up before you go to the school where you drop your district car off and you get your personal car, those kind of things. Nobody's concerned about that. And so I did add language here that de minimis personal use of the vehicle on an unscheduled and non-routine basis would be acceptable. So that's an additional sentence that you've maybe not seen in past superintendent contracts. It doesn't change it, it just kind of states it as it has always been. The agreement is a 3-year agreement. As indicated in 4.1. In 4.2, of course, the superintendent is required to reside in Volusia County, Florida, and I think every indication from him is that they're in the process of house shopping and those kind of things. But of course, on the short-term basis, he's, as we'll see down the line here, he needs some ability to establish temporary residency here while he looks for a home. The medical examination you will recognize as always being the case. He is going to a doctor. He has an appointment. He will be getting the statement that we require that he is, after a complete physical exam, able to carry out the duties of the superintendent. And then, of course, each year thereafter, he has to continue to do that. So under paragraph 6, annual evaluations. So this is a little bit of what I spoke about when you all were working on your calendar. The way we've set this up is that he will be evaluated on or before August 15th, 2020. Now that's whatever that is, 7 or 8 months from now, which is not a year, which is normally, you wait a year to do an evaluation. So that is designed to get us on track so that we are evaluating him at a time when we have a lot of data that is necessary to for you all to see coming out of Tallahassee, school grades, school grades and those kinds of things are going to be coming out. So that gets him on track. Now, to accomplish that and to give him performance goals between now and then, what the contract provides is that the board on or before, well, actually on February 11th, because that is a scheduled meeting, on February 11th, but with a workshop preceding that, you all will work out the goals for just this first phase that runs from now until August 15th. Those goals, as Mr. Persis mentioned, would be broad things like establishing a strategic plan as opposed to very specific things related to graduation rates or something, because that obviously would not make any sense. So those broad goals would be established at the board meeting February 11th, and then he would have those as his focus between then and August 15th, at which time there would be a written evaluation and an assessment of whether or not he met those goals and performance standards for purposes of receiving a performance compensation payment, which we'll cover in a paragraph further down in the agreement. The compensation is set at $205,000. I think we had advertised between $185 and $225, and that was pretty much in the middle. And so it was agreed that by Mr. Persis and Dr. Fritz that he would be compensated, subject, of course, to your approval, that he would be paid $205,000, and that would be for the year commencing on December 2, 2019, and through and including December 1 of 2020, of course, after which his pay would be adjusted potentially depending on how he does during that one-year period. Salary adjustments. The way this is established is a little different than we've done in the past. So he receives an annual salary equal to his base annual salary. That amount of money cannot be reduced. However, if he receives an overall performance rating of satisfactory or greater, he would be entitled to a salary increase not to exceed 2% cost of living, as long as other 12-month administrative personnel received the same or greater cost of living adjustment. Now, that does not restrict you to 2%. What it indicates is that notwithstanding all of the foregoing, nothing in the agreement precludes the board from increasing the superintendent's base salary at any time in any amount as deemed in your sole discretion to be justified. So the short of it is, at some point you'll be determining whether or not he gets a raise, and not at some point, at the evaluation stage, you'll be determining whether or not he gets a raise, and then, but at a minimum, he would get a 2% cost of living increase, so long as the other conditions I outlined were met. In addition to his base pay, there's deferred compensation, which is something we've had for now way over a decade, maybe 15 years now. Deferred compensation package, tax sheltered annuity plan. The negotiated percentage of the base salary is 10%. What's changed a little bit here is that we did have a vesting plan set in place, for instance, with Mr. Russell, where the money did not vest until he was here a year. It was a little complicated, and it was quite a problem for Deb Muller and others, because without getting into a lot of details, it was very difficult to pay the money in but not have it vested in these kind of things. The short of it is, under this proposal, he just vests on a monthly basis, and the payments are made on a monthly basis, and that resolves any issues that we've had previously when it comes to how to deposit the money. And it kind of makes sense in the sense that however long he's here, whatever's been paid in, that's what he would have, and there wouldn't be any vesting requirements. The vacation section 7.4 is the same as it has been for more than a decade, 20 vacation days, as outlined. Now on the 7.5 sick leave, so that was an issue that Mr. Persis had to grapple with. The request was to move 50 sick days from Osceola County and immediately bank them in the district and have them available to him. So we did some digging with staff to get some guidance on whether that was even an option. Learned that it was not an option. You cannot just move 50 days over. It's more complicated than I'm going to say it, but what it amounts to is what we can do and what we've agreed to do is to allow those days that he has in Osceola and Orange County, if that's where they came from as well, to be available for matching purposes, because the law does allow us to match. So for every sick day he gets in Volusia County, he will then be credited an additional day out of the bank where he has these other sick days banked from his previous employment. So it would, depending on how long he's here, could he get to 50 days? Maybe, but, it would take a lot of time to get there. Yes, ma'am.
So is 50 the maximum amount we're going to allow to be matched?
No, he's matched as long as he's here under the way this is written, and that was discussed.
Okay, so my question there, because I thought more about this after I talked to you last night, is, and Orange County hadn't been brought up, so it sounds as if he took his days from Orange County to Osceola, and I'm not sure if that's correct.
Yeah.
And now he's wanting to bring those days here. The interesting piece about that is, so say he earned, I don't know, 50 in Orange County, that he then took to Osceola, and now he's earned another 50 in Osceola. All of those have been earned at a lower rate of pay. By bringing them here, he's now going to, when he is able to either utilize them or cash them out, they're going to come out at a much higher rate of pay.
That's true. You're correct. And I don't think it matters where they came from. I will tell you that he has 200 days in the bank. So irrespective of where they came from, I don't think that matters. But he has 200 days in the bank from whatever source. And it is true. Now, our sick days...
Are we matching annual leave days?
It's
or
1 day
hours?
per month, so we're really just talking 12 days per year. But I think maybe Mr. Persis recalls, but is there like a 4-day upfront and then?
4 days up front.
And then is that, and so is it a total of 16 per year then, or
No,
4 days
no.
up front comes out of the, okay.
4 days.
I see Deb shaking her head no. So it's 12 days per year,
That's
so,
what our employees
So-
receive.
yeah. So he's gonna get 12 matching days per year is what it amounts
So
to.
we're only going to match sick leave days, we're not matching annual leave days.
No, just-
That's right, only sick leave days,
Okay.
only sick leave days. Okay. All right, and then 7.6 personal leave is by statute, and that's not changed. Holidays are holidays, that's not changed. Now, health insurance, so as many of you probably know, maybe all of you know, Dr. Fritz has an adult child who is a special needs child. And he has actually 2 adult children. One of them is a special needs child. One of his requests was that we provide health insurance as a family to him as opposed to just he and his wife. So in really round numbers, he and his wife, which we have always provided the health insurance for the superintendent and his or her spouse, I should say, is in round numbers about $1,200 per month. But a family package is $1,600 per month. So we, Mr. Persis agreed to allow the eligible dependents to be included in the health care, which amounts to $400 per month that we're, spending over and above what historically we've spent in that category. Now, the family plan allows for one child or 10 children. It's all the same price. So the fact that there's 2 children is really not relevant. It's the fact that there's any children at all. The plan that we're on allows for adult children to be on the health care coverage up to the age of 30, which I was really surprised at that it was. I thought it was 27, but it's 30. One of the 2 children will be coming off, but the special needs daughter will be on. So there's really no difference to us from an expense standpoint as to whether he has both children or just one child. And that was as I said, $400 per month additional cost. The life insurance remains the same as it always has been, 2 times annual salary. We provided that since the beginning of time. The Florida retirement system is just what it is. I think that's self-explanatory, and emergency leave just gives you the discretion to help him out if there's an emergency of some point. It's at some point. 712 extended disability remains unchanged. That's the same package that we've always provided. So on the performance compensation, as I alluded to again in an earlier meeting, we wanted to get this on track, and so that it made sense, so that you could create performance standards and goals that would be measurable, and that you all at the time of the evaluation and determination of whether or not there's going to be performance compensation paid, that all that information would be available to actually evaluate and determine whether or not those goals had been met. And as indicated earlier, you're going to work on, if this is approved, you're going to work on setting up some goals that will be voted on February 11th of next year for the initial phase, meaning less than 1 year. So it's February 11th to August 15th. And then for purposes of this initial phase, the performance compensation set-aside funds is a flat amount of $10,000, which, as you'll see in the next paragraph, is a little less than it would be if you prorated it based on the number of months and the percentages that have been agreed to. And then, so on August 15th, he's going to either have met the goals that you set on February 11th, and he would be entitled to that performance compensation, or he will not have met those goals, in which case he would not be entitled to that compensation. So if you look to the next paragraph, so then it works to get everything on track for an August to August to August to August going forward, again, because of the data stream coming out of Tallahassee. So the set-aside beginning on August 15th of next year for the year through August 15th of 2021 is 10% of base salary. As we've just discussed, if approved, the base salary $205,000, so that would be $20,500 would be a set-aside. It's clear in this paragraph he does not get any of that money unless he meets the goals and performance standards that you set, and you would be setting those at the same time you're evaluating him on August 15th in 2020, and you'd be setting those goals for the year going forward to the following August, and those goals would be more specific: graduation rates, school grades, district-wide grade, whatever you guys determine. We've gone through this, and of course, it's understood you could weight these in terms of priorities like you've done in the past. One goal might have 50%. If you reach this, you get 50% of the performance compensation. Another goal might be 10%, or they might be equally weighted. Those are all things that you all would work out in advance and approve, on August 15th of next year for the year that would then follow, and then on August 15th, 2021, we would have the data and necessary to determine whether or not those goals were met, and that would determine whether or not he would receive some or all of that set aside, which would be $20,500. And of course, as a 10% formula, that would be adjusted going forward. For instance, if you got a 2% cost of living increase, then that would slightly increase, the set aside. So it's a percentage. The third paragraph within paragraph 713 is, because we have encountered this issue in the past where we tried to put the goals into the first contract, and then the next year it's like, well, these goals don't apply anymore, and it's a big mess. So now it's established that there will be a separate instrument that will establish these goals, et cetera, and those goals will be tied to your evaluation instrument. Remember how we did that with your evaluation instrument, and then those goals were right in that evaluation. So we're going to do it separately from the superintendent's employment contract by agreement. The money is clearly set aside, so then how he gets the money, if he gets it at all, is what we address in that separate document in terms of creating those parameters. In 714, as I mentioned before, he is working toward purchasing a home here in Volusia County for he and his wife. He has an immediate need to come here and have a place to stay because he's starting December 2nd. He's going to have some place to put his head down. He doesn't want to go back to Osceola, and we don't want him to go back to Osceola each day. So there's a fund that is up to $5,000 or actual expenses. He believes it will be less than $5,000 that he will need for the temporary housing allowance through December 30th. So that's just that 1 month while he gets himself on his feet, and then he has, either initially a rental situation before he can buy a house, that kind of thing. Also, up to $8,000 or actual expenses for relocation once he moves everything from Osceola to his rental or his new home, whichever would come first. In the outside professional activities, this is the same language that you've seen in the past. The difference here is that, and I'm searching for that language, that it is possible for him to be paid by an outside source as a consultant if he were to give a speech or do some writing or something that somebody wanted to pay him to do, but that he would have to use sick leave, personal leave, or vacation leave for anything that he did outside of the district work. The termination section is unchanged, and you have the for cause and without cause by Florida statute. As we've experienced, the maximum amount of liquidated damages under a termination without cause is 20 weeks severance pay, and that's the same language that we've had now since that statute was passed many, many years ago at this point. And then the rest of this is just, I can talk about it, but it's kind of boilerplate language that is used, and we've had in all the previous agreements in terms of indemnifying him in the event he's sued personally, as long as it's not malfeasance in office and those kind of things. Venue, establishing if there were a dispute where the cause of action would be brought, which is Volusia County, requiring dispute resolution if we got into a situation like that, et cetera. So that, Madam Chair, is a pretty good overview of what Mr. Peirce has negotiated, and I prepared the document. Dr. Fritz has reviewed this agreement as written. He has indicated that he is prepared to sign it if it is approved. The language has been accepted, and that's, unless there are questions, that's all I have.
Colleagues, I'll open up for any discussion. Any questions, comments?
Madam Chair, I just want to say, as we go through this, I think that this is a very generous contract. And I ask myself, as probably a lot of folks will, who are going to say, wow, look at what this is going to cost us, or look what the board is agreeing to give this individual. But as I reflect back, I'd say it's worth every penny, because over the many years, and no need to go to the past, but we've lost out on a lot of opportunities, and so I'm convinced that Dr. Fritz is going to get us to our destination. And so again, just, that'll be the elephant in the room, and I'm sure the News Journal will have a run with it. However, I think this is going to bring the turnaround that our district needs, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would like some clarifications. When you said something about the car usage, if he decides to live in Ormond by the Sea, for example, he's going to find a school nearby, park his personal car and leave his official car there
Yes, ma'am.
on a daily, if he lives in DeLand.
If he chooses to. I mean, he can leave his car anywhere. I'm just saying that if he wants to minimize use of his personal vehicle, what superintendents have done in the past is find the closest school district facility, it doesn't even have to be a school, and leave their personal car there and then swap out.
Okay. So he has to have a key to get onto campus, to get in, to park, if the gates close.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the past practices have been. I don't know about keys or anything. I'm just.
Because all the gates are locked, usually. Especially if there's a Saturday event sometime.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at accessibility. and Mr. Eckner, is that what you do?
No, because of the nature of I was temporary and lived in another county and was not expected to move, I was able to drive the car as a special dispensation. But I will tell you that I have keys to the gates. I have a gate key that opens all the gates at all the schools, and have used it from time to time. And I would assume that Dr. Fritz would get the same key, or a key.
Yes, sir, he would. Same gate key is used through the district. He'll have that gate key, and he'll let us know what school or facility or site. Could be an ag farm or wherever depends on where he lives. He'll be able to get in and out of that with a gate key.
Okay, I just want to look at safety for the car, and if there's any damage, or we're liable, correct?
You mean if his personal car is
Yes,
damaged?
if there's anything that happens to it on our property?
No, we wouldn't be liable unless it was our fault. I mean,
Okay.
if one of our trucks ran into it, we'd be liable, but if it's vandalism, we would not be liable.
That's right.
So,
He's correct. I mean, that's exactly it. Same thing if you park at a school today. If, a vehicle comes in and hits your vehicle, if it's not one of ours, then they would be liable, whoever the other party would be at that point in time.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the safety and the security of his automobile, his personal. Now, that's a nice package. That's almost $20,000 extra in insurance. Is that typical?
No, not 20,000,
It's
5,000, 4,800.
Okay.
4,800 extra in
Total.
service. 400 per month for 12 months
Plus the
extra.
1,200? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
four,
saying it's-
actually, it's probably closer to 4,600 or something like that.
Okay, I just want to
Yes.
clarify.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, is his family moving here?
Yes.
All his?
I mean, he needs to speak for himself. What I can tell you is that based on the conversations that Mr. Persis and I had with him, that's, now, family is a relative term. He has adult children. We don't know or care where his adult children live, but his wife will be moving here, as I understand it, based on the conversations.
Okay, the reason why I ask is if an adult child who we are covering lives in Osceola, and the healthcare we offer is Florida healthcare, is it
understand.
offered in Osceola?
I understand. Yes, I understand.
That would be his.
It's the best we can, it's what we do,
Okay,
it's
I
what we're
just-
doing.
Okay, I just wanted, I'm just bringing things to light.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's not something that we hadn't thought of.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he said that the one child has insurance already.
He did.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I believe that's the child that you're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make sure. And then I also saw where he is receiving benefit or expenses till the end of December 31st. To purchase a home takes some time.
Right.
What if we go beyond December 31st?
Well, this is just a stopgap additional, he's going to live off his salary. So this is just to give him for the month of December some short-term, maybe even, I don't, he didn't say this, I'm saying this, a hotel room or anything. Just because it takes time to, get, if you're going to lease something, it takes time to get into
Yes.
it.
Well,
So
that's
it's
no
just to
problem.
give him that amount of time necessary to get into some temporary / permanent arrangement that he will then pay for himself.
So after December 31st, he's on his own?
He's absolutely on his own.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, sure.
And because this is $30,000 more than Mr. Russell, there's some more expenses. Is this in our budget? Are we okay? We're not overextending? Are we all right?
Well, you advertised it, all I can say to that is, yeah.
I'm just,
You
when I
advertised
talk-
it for
talk to my
$225, so.
constituents and my taxpayers,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we are okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we are, Ms. Cuthbert, because Dr. Smith was, if I remember, about 225.
Oh, yeah.
She was already 20,000 plus. When you look at her severance package, it was rather hefty because we paid her a car allowance for her car.
Yes.
She did not use the school's transportation. So we are still below the threshold of what we paid Dr. Smith.
Yes, that's
Yes.
true.
If somebody compares to the back, I just want to make sure everyone is above board and aware
Yeah.
of what's going on.
And they probably really need to go look at our district and the size that many superintendents are being paid. I mean, again, Carl did a wonderful job negotiating this because he could have actually asked for 225 plus all of these additional. So, again, if we just keep it in context that when Dr. Smith left, we're still below her threshold, I think people will understand that.
I'm just
Yeah.
clarifying.
No, you're
right.
Making it public.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, we
to make
didn't
sure
do-
everyone's aware.
Yeah, we didn't do an analysis, but I think this is quite competitive with other districts.
Yes, yes, I'm
Quite
very much aware.
competitive, yeah.
I know how much Lake County super pays.
Yeah.
I mean, the county manager makes, almost 300,000 in
I know
Volusia
that.
and has half the people, so,
Right, and the city attorney of New Smyrna makes a lot more too.
yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes, go ahead, right ahead.
So, I want to thank Carl and Ted for all the time that you put into this. And I've read all of it. And I think we're being, very generous too. I have to say this one piece out loud though. I don't mind providing insurance for adult children, okay? Especially when there's special circumstances. But we have paraprofessionals, teachers, Schoolway Cafe, all of the people sitting out here, myself included when I had, children, that yes, the district covered, my portion, where I paid the difference, but I had to cover my family insurance. It was available to me, but I had to make the payment. And I have no problem covering his insurance, okay? And I think it's great that we're making the offer to provide the insurance. But we have paraprofessionals that are working to cover their insurance, and they take home no money, or they write a check back to Volusia County to finalize the payment that's needed to have that insurance. So my thought is we offer it, but I think that should be coming out of his salary, that piece. And I have to say that because that's not an exception we're making for anyone else.
Mr. Purse, do you want me to speak to that, or?
No, again, when we looked at everything, we looked at his whole package.
Yes.
So what we would do, we would go down the items, and before we got to, like, for instance, salary, which was difficult, we left that alone, and we went and did other things so that I could go back and then point out, like, well, we are paying for your children, so that's a benefit. And we did include some other things so that I could point out to him these other things, while it's not your salary, but these are some additional benefits that you are receiving. So when we got back to the salary, which was the last thing, even though, he may have wanted a different salary than when we finally got to, once he became aware, we pointed out a few times, well, we'll look at the total package here. Then we finally got to where we are. So that's why.
Okay. And as I said, thank you very much,
Yeah.
because the time that you guys put into this,
Yeah.
we didn't have to do that, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. It was,
And
Mr.
may I
Lund was
add to
great,
that?
and it's,
I would also want to say, oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no,
Yeah. Mr. Persis said the same thing I was going to say, which is it's really important to look at it in its totality, which is what is important about every agreement. You can enter into agreement to buy a house and reduce the payment, or reduce the purchase price, but increase the, percentage of interest type thing on the mortgage. It's all a function of a total agreement. In addition to, as Mr. Persis pointed out, the discussion about base salary, for instance, we were paying Dr. Smith 15% deferred compensation, and we pressed for that to be 10%. And so, and Mr. Persis was, very diligent, in my view, in his efforts. It was a little uncomfortable, quite frankly, on a couple of occasions, but those things happen. I mean, it's everybody's big boy and girls. So, but that's just by way of example. See, so you get that down to 10%, but maybe you do something else, and so that's to help explain it.
And so one of the questions, just to put it into context, that I asked Attorney Doran yesterday was, how big of a difference is this from his current salary? And if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's only about 30 grand more to be superintendent in Volusia County than he's making right now as the position where he's at right now. And so he's making as much as Tom Russell was making when Tom Russell was our superintendent. And so the thought that now that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a lot or a little, it's just what it is or it was at the time. And so when you have somebody who makes a move as large as this one, where you're now number one, I am pretty certain that in most instances it's a significant jump, where here it really isn't. And so that's one of the things that I took into consideration as I read this whole thing. And I appreciate the explanation of going back to the salary at the end of everything else, because the reality is that salary-wise, he's taken on this responsibility for just a little bit more than he's making right now. I'm encouraged that he is also concerned about what everyone else in our district is making or not making, because we are, and so that's encouraging to me. in that I think in a very short time period, we're going to see some leveling out of this imbalance. You know, instance, our HR director position, you know, the salary is not competitive with a quality HR person. And so again, I think we're going to see a little bit of balancing out, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you. Any other conversation?
I agree, but I always think we have to keep ever mindful of the funding we receive, which makes it that much more important that we have our lobbyists in place and our legislative liaison in place. Funding is everything. We cannot go out and have a bake sale or a garage sale. We can't do that. We are always under the gun because we do receive so much less funding, and that's a good example we're laying down to go to our governor, who is from this county, who is our representative at the U.S. Congress at one time. It's very important that we ever are mindful of our representatives who are from here, how we are, I guess, not punished, but not taken as much credit as our neighboring counties. And if they want excellence, they're going to have to pay a little bit more.
And so will we.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the superintendent's contract as presented.
Second.
The motion has been properly moved and moved by Ruben Colon, second by Jamie Haynes. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just wanted to say, as Mr. Doran alluded to, there were some tense times. There was one time we had to just take a break and like walk away for a while, but that was all good. And then we came back and everything was great. And I just got to say, he is all in. I mean, he is just 24/7 on this job. I know right now he's in Osceola County, but his mind and thoughts are right here in Volusia. I mean, he just talked about he wants to do this, and we got to do this, and I got to talk to Mr. Egner about that. And he was just a mile a minute, just so engaged. And he says, you know, you're going to get me, you know, 110%, and just so excited. Just can't wait. Loves this board. Can't wait to work with us. I mean, he is just so pumped up. I mean, he just can't begin to tell you how much. So after all was said and done, and we did agree, you know, we shook hands around the table. Everybody was just happy. So I just want you to know that he is very anxious to be here, and he wishes he could be here right now. But the superintendent, I believe, Mr. Egner from Osceola County is
Yes,
off.
the superintendent there is on a vacation, I believe.
Yes.
And so he, as much as he wanted to be here this entire week and probably next week too, knowing Dr. Fritz, he has responsibilities there that he has to clean up and finish up. And we wouldn't want anybody who didn't feel that way about their current job.
Right, and I also want to point out how, and Mr. Doran can also agree, he made, you know, just so many nice comments about our district staff, and, you know, he just can't wait to work with our team, and you know, it just kept going on and on and on. So just want you to know, I think we got the right guy, and I think he is going to commit himself to make this district the best that it can possibly be.
So just for clarification, December 2nd is his first day.
That is
Oh, yes.
correct.
So we're stuck with Mr. Egner till then.
Well, actually, that's the next item on the agenda. You're not stuck till then, you're stuck past then.
But only if you want.
If you want.
Any
Thank
other
you, Madam Chair.
discussion? You're welcome. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose? Ayes have it. Unanimous vote. Welcome, Dr.
Welcome.
Fritz.
Hey.
Yeah, welcome down.
Moving to our next agenda item, item number 2.02. Mr. Doran.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we discussed this briefly at the last board meeting, and you all even by vote approved moving forward with preparing a contract that would place Mr. Egner into a position entitled Administrator on Assignment, and that is at the request of Dr. Fritz and for transition purposes, and you've been provided a proposed written agreement, which in the whereas clauses kind of outlines all of that history. This agreement, of course, is very short and sweet because the length of it is literally 30 days. Anyway, December 2nd to January 2nd, whatever that is, could be 31. But Mr. Egner will be the superintendent until December 2nd, after which Dr. Fritz will become the superintendent, and if this is approved, Mr. Egner will be administrator on assignment to assist Dr. Fritz in any way he deems appropriate. And again, this is that 30-day period. The only things that, and of course, in terms of compensation, Mr. Egner would continue as he is paid now for that 1 month. The only additional things that he has asked for, which are in the agreement, is the use of his credit card for the sole purpose of purchasing fuel for his private vehicle, for any district business, and including his commute to his home, which we have already previously, and he is presently being compensated for that commute anyway. But this would reduce it down to just fuel, just purchase of gasoline for that purpose. And beyond that, he would keep his district cell phone for that additional 30 days, so he doesn't have to use his private one, and any other equipment that he would need, like printers, copiers, laptops, and the like. And it's just as simple as that. It's a 30-day stint.
I have a question. Who will be attending our Florida School Board Association and also the FADS conference at the same time?
It's up to them.
Probably Fritz.
Dr.
What
Fritz?
date is that?
Well, it's the first week
third.
of December.
It's the
right
first
after
week.
December
Thanksgiving.
3rd?
He's not gonna, knowing him, he's not gonna want to be away from Volusia, if
I'm
I
just
had to
making
guess,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I
I
don't
just
know.
want to make sure we have plans for him to be
Yeah, that's something that maybe needs to get worked out. I would say, just to kind of echo Mr. Persis' comments, my observation, this guy is in hyperdrive. I mean, I just kept looking at him thinking of, that scene in the Star Trek show where they go, they hit the button and the thing like blurs out. And that was my impression of his, attitude beginning now, much less December 2nd. So I don't know where he'll be, but
Mr. Egner, do you want to follow up with him, or do you want Ted or me to follow up with him to find out if he's planning to go for a day? Because I think he has to get certified. I understand, but I think it's a certification
It's that
that he
Friday.
may have to attend at least. So would you
I
like
would-
to follow up with him?
If so directed, it would probably be better for one of you to do so, but if you
Okay.
want me to do it, it's fine.
okay. Yeah, I'll be glad to do it.
I basically will serve him,
Okay.
so if the discussions with what he wants to do,
Okay.
Yeah,
it might
You can
be-
reach
I
out to
will.
him.
I will
Okay.
take care of that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we can let Denise know if we need to get him
Yes.
registered and all of that.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Good point. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the contract.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve Mr. Timothy Egner's contract.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been properly moved by Linda Cuthbert, seconded by Carl Persis. Any other discussion?
He'll be missed.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those that oppose? Ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
Congratulations, Mr.
Congratulations.
Timothy P. Egner.
And now we will adjourn this meeting. Any of you need to use the restroom, or we can keep going? 5 minutes? Yes, I'll
Yeah,
give you
5
5
minutes.
minutes. Good morning. We're going to call our workshop to order. Thank you. I would like to introduce our guest. Thank you. I was going to say two, and I was like, that's my district. Next to Mr. Persis, I have Mr. Ruben Colon, representing District 5. Mr. Ted Doran, our school board attorney. To my far right, I have Mrs. Connie, and I always want to call her by maiden name, but Mrs. Connie Spire, our agency clerk. Next to her, I have Ms. Jamie Haynes, representing District 1. Our vice chairman, Mrs. Linda Cuthbert, representing District 3. Our superintendent, Mr. Tim Egner, and I might right, chairwoman for this year, representing District 2. Today, we will have an ERP presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Egner.
Thank you so much, and I just wanted to do an introduction. Our very eager and enthusiastic panelists are up, and they will introduce themselves and their roles when they speak. I did want to remind you that the circumstances that we're under right now, the district took on a very ambitious project, and that was to introduce 2 new systems to the school system at the same time and almost simultaneously. And the 2 systems also being different, one Focus and one an Oracle-based system. The basic summary I can give you of the Oracle system is it's probably the best that's out there, the most lasting, and will serve us for many years to come, but it is also very complex. It's kind of like if you have a Porsche and you need it repaired, you have to have the right repair person, and it's the same thing with installation. I would also say that the panel will describe to you some of the issues we ran into with the installation and the go live dates that have been established in the past. And I had alerted you in a few separate emails of the issues that were coming forward. I know that it is impossible for us to, with any level of assuredness, go live in January as was originally suggested, and instead we've had to regroup and come up with some alternative plans for your consideration. You will not vote today, but it's the kind of thing that has implications, and we need your feedback for the directions moving forward, understanding that I didn't want to saddle the new superintendent with going into this and starting this investigation from day one, because it's very much quite involved. Some of the issues that I mentioned to you before, and they may repeat, is that this is a cloud-based system, which means it'll serve us better for the future and catch us up to the current state of technology, but that also creates a completely different environment than we're used to with a non-cloud system. I would also mention that we ran into some unintended concerns, including the number of employees who left in the middle of the implementation, including the project managers. And so this set us back. New employees were saddled with having to learn the old system, which was in operation, while trying to learn the new system or trying to get the new system in operation. So these were all factors, and there are others that have brought us to where we are today for an in-depth analysis of where we are and where we probably need to go and what this would mean to the district, including costs. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Deb Muller, who I think leads the panel, and she'll identify her cohorts and begin the discussion.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. I wanted to make sure I got that right. That was, I didn't want to call you Mr. Board members and Superintendent Egner. I will let everybody introduce themselves up here. I am the Chief Financial Officer and the project sponsor for the ERP project. And to my left.
Yeah, Greg Aiken, Chief Operating Officer.
Christy Moss, Project Manager for the district.
Joe Fitz, Project Manager for Cherry Road.
And Mr. Mike Rubalata from Cherry Road Technologies was anticipated to be here, but due to family circumstances could not. But I know that Mr. Fitz is very capable of communicating what needs to be communicated to you this morning. As Mr. Egner stated, we requested this workshop setting so that we could discuss this with you. I know that you have been apprised of some of what was going on, but we also wanted to update you on the ERP financial piece first, because I know it's been a while since we've been in front of you to discuss that, as well as discussing the phase 2, which is payroll and human resources. We did engage, as you remember, it's been more than 2 years now since we engaged GFOA to help us through this process. We selected Cherry Road as the implementer along with Oracle, and we thought we were prepared. We were told, we did what everybody asked us to, but I just don't think, as you know from many of the stories that are out there, that you're ever prepared for this task, truly. It is an enormous task, and we have had challenges initially due to staffing with Cherry Road, and we had to come before you and ask for a change order at that point and regrouped on that. And we've been really, working very hard and diligently. All of our staff has, but we were able to go live on July 1st with our financials, but now we have run into some issues with the phase 2 piece. So we'll get more into that as we go. I think these contracts were written over-dependent on our technical staff and their expertise. Not to say that they don't have a certain expertise, but as Mr. Egner stated, this is a new type of product, and we have a lot of familiarity and expertise with our current legacy systems, and those have been developed over 20 years to really work the way that we need them to work. And a cloud-based system implementation is more vanilla. So while we go through this, we will go into more details, and then we will make a recommendation and bring this forward to you as an action item at the December 10th meeting.
Hi, good morning. Deb and I will provide the status of a Phase 1 ERP financial modules, and then, as she mentioned earlier, we'll review the Phase 2 HCM status, which is our payroll and HR modules. As you can see in front of you, that's the agenda that we're going to go through today, so we'll kind of go through that right now. I'm going to talk about Phase 1 currently right now. As Deb mentioned earlier, July 1, we went live with Phase 1 with some outstanding issues with our interface, with our transportation, our schoolway cafe, and our maintenance programs. Those 3 were projected to be completed and up and running within 30 days based on the analysis that we had at that point in time. We went an additional 60 days after that. Mr. Egner asked Deb and I to come together in a joint meeting with our team, our internal team, to review Phase 1 status, specifically on outstanding concerns with the interfaces and several others. We had Ms. Moss and all of our leads were in that meeting. We identified several areas that needed to be completed. Deb and I put together a task listing or an action steps, identified our top priorities, and have been working on those top priorities. Based on that, I know from day one we did have some successes, and we're going to go over those in just a second, but there were some things that we needed to get fixed so we can close some work orders and those things. So based on that, approximately 2 months ago, we've been working diligently to tackle our highest priorities on Phase 1 to get those completed, specifically the interfaces with the 3 major systems. Some of our victories, obviously, are vendor payment. HCM payments are there. All payroll vendors are paid by the ACH payment system. We do have some little glitches there, but it is working, and it is successful currently right now. This feature we wanted to be able to do because it's going to make it more streamlined for us. Instead of printing and mailing out checks, they get those payments right away. From purchasing standpoint, one of the goals many years ago was to have a centralized purchasing department. This new system does allow us, the district, across the district, to have a centralized purchasing department. So everything's got to go through that purchasing department and then goes back out for purchasing and oversight for us. It reduces our P card usage, except for those emergencies or those companies that don't use purchase orders. Then therefore we have the P card to be able to use that. A vendor portal is critical for us. And purchasing department allows our vendors to enter their information for district approval. All vendors' information is housed at one location. It also has a punch-out catalog where, like online ordering that we normally do on Amazon, everything else, we can do that as well from the vendor's website. Is all done through our system, which is critical, and that's working currently right now. And we will continue to add more punch-outs in the near future. Our interface systems that we currently have, we have 28 have been completed and are currently working right now that are in production. We have 6 more that are completed and being tested right now. So we are moving forward with our punch list to make sure that we get this completed in a timely manner. One of the major challenges in any time you bring on any system is the training portion, and the ERP, like the SIS system, actually touches everybody. So that means we had to do extensive, enormous training, which we started in early February of last year through September of this year. And we'll continue on as we bring on new employees as we go through. We've provided many cheat sheets on various media platforms to make sure that we're very clear on our communication to them and how to work through the system. We do have some remaining challenges that we're really looking at right now. One of those is reporting. Like Mr. Egner mentioned just a few minutes ago, we had some critical staff in our technology services department that actually went to the other side and seeked, you like that Star Wars thing? Okay. Went to the other side to do some other employment. So that kind of set us back a little bit on our reporting. We did hire, this past Monday, we did hire a temporary employee that has reporting skills and is now currently working day 2, I guess it'd be day 2 today, looking at our reporting, developing our reporting process that we currently have today. So we did lose some technical staff, like I mentioned earlier, but we do have temporary help to help us with that. Balancing and syncing data cubes. We have been challenged with the reconciliation between all of the cubes when we went with live data. We had review with Cherry Road and understand there's a need for some tweaks in the configuration, and I think we're working towards that. As a team, we actually bump up stuff to Cherry Road to be able to take care of that in our system. This is being completed hopefully this week, and by next week we should be able to have that kind of resolved. Interfaces on delay, like I mentioned earlier. It's not just Cherry Road and Volusia County Schools trying to build these interfaces. We have to work with the 3 other vendors that we're using their software as well. So it's like a triage that we're trying to do. Once we fix one thing, it might break something else, so we're trying to fix that system there. So due to lack of technical expertise, in some cases, causes a log jam on Transman, Ames, and WebSmart that we currently have today. Third-party vendors are getting hold of them. It's not a top priority for them, although it is for us. So getting them engaged and keeping them engaged so we can resolve the issues has been a challenge. I know Deb and I and our team meet once a week to make sure that we're staying on top of that and making sure the vendor is being held accountable for those actions. We also mentioned at the last board meeting some of the challenges with fixed assets and inventory of them. We are still working through some of the statement of works with a current vendor that we believe will help us resolve that current issue. I'm going to turn it over to Deb.
And I don't know if you would like to stop and ask any questions about phase 1, or you would like us to keep going into the phase 2 piece.
Colleagues, what would you prefer? What's your pleasure? Keep going. Oh, go ahead, Linda. You got a question?
Yes, on phase 1. So what is the bottom line? I mean,
Oh, we're live
So-
on phase 1.
So phase 1 is live. We still have some glitches that we need to work through. Some of the interfaces need to be fine-tuned and working. We've come a long way over the last couple of months where we're now closing work orders. We're seeing some processes, flow work coming through. We're still tackling some of the critical areas that are identified for us.
Right, we have, oh,
I'm
I'm sorry.
sorry.
I was just going to say that we have manual processes that we created workarounds for, but while some of the interfaces are almost working or parts of them are working, we have to get them all working, especially as Greg mentioned in AIM and Transman, because transactions come out of Oracle and go into those systems, and then they go into the work orders that they use to do their jobs, and then we send information back to Oracle. And so until those are working completely and sending information back to Oracle, they can't close out their work orders properly, and we cannot send transactions to the general ledger so that we can finalize the costing and all of the revenue and expenditures. So we can't close out the months until those transactions are all complete. So that's the big place where we're hung up, in addition to the budget and putting the adopted budget in, as well as the transactions and some of the tweaks and configurations that we've been making.
Okay. And my last question is, how do you have a feedback system? Is it clear, and is there a feedback system that's, because I'm sure there's a lot of frustration out there with people who are using Oracle. Are they free to, is there a centralized place where they can say, this is what's working, this is what's not working, I experienced a glitch today, what's going on? So is there an even flow of reporting?
We have our ShareWell system. That's the ticketing system that we use for technology services. So people can either enter a ticket or they can call 20,000 for help. And all of the Tier 1 staff there have all of the cheat sheets and information. They've been working in the system to help people now since July. And so they, if they can't solve their problems, then it would go to a Tier 2 like applications, or we have a bookkeeper that can help resolve a lot of issues with the bookkeepers. And then we also can elevate to Cherry Road. So if we think it's something we need help with, then we can elevate to them to solve. And then if it's an Oracle issue, then we would elevate it to Oracle. And if it's stopping work, it's a severity one, and it's all hands on deck. So many people, Joe, Christy, can see the Oracle tickets, as well as, Joe's tracking the Cherry Road tickets, and so we keep driving those. But we also have our customer service manager, Michael Brown, that assists, and he tracks those every single day, as well as, some of the tickets are enhancement requests, or, may be considered an enhancement. Maybe it's a change to how we actually ask for the system to be configured, and now we want to make a tweak. So we're tracking those as well and identifying those separately. We actually will have a change control board that will be beginning to meet next week to consider any change requests and what those effects are. And then the other factor that plays into it is we have quarterly updates that are pushed out from Oracle. So we are notified about 6 weeks in advance of what the changes will be. And that's a difference from with a cloud-based software, because you don't have a choice when they're pushed out. You're on a schedule. You have it in test for 2 weeks. And so that's one of the things that we have to make sure we test those new features in our test sites, so that we know what the effects will be and if there will be any problems in production. And so then it gets pushed out in production. We just had one pushed out this past weekend in production, and I think we've only had some minor things that we've heard about. And just getting into the hang of that whole process and routine is a change for all of us. Not only the leads, but technology services. It's a whole different way of managing our system. So it's been a learning experience for all of us.
We're also listening to, if I can dovetail real quick, we're also listening to our teams. So we have a working group Thank you. Yeah, we have a working group in operations department that actually meets and comes up with a list of items. Christy is part of that as well. They can also email Deb and I with some of the concerns that they currently have. We listen to them, find out what their concerns are, and see what we can to resolve their individual issues as well from an operational standpoint.
Thank you very much.
Go right ahead, Jamie.
Okay, so I want to clarify or make sure that I'm understanding the phase one piece. So phase one, though, has to do with the vendor piece, if I'm correct, so that when we purchase things or we purchase services, it's how timely are we paying them? Because I have been hearing from the community that the issue is people are not being paid in a timely manner. Like our purchase orders may come in, they're being receipted as they always have, but then the vendor is not getting payment in the time frame in which we used to pay, or the same thing for services. You know, if we hire painters to paint something, they paint in good faith, they're expecting payment, and then they're not getting paid in a timely manner. So that is part of what's happening in phase one?
That phase one is all of the financials, so it's the general ledger, the accounts payable, purchasing, and that is something that we have been struggling with. Part of the reason is we had what was turned on is called OCR, so optical character recognition, I believe.
Very good.
And so invoices were going into this mailbox and being read. We had snags with those, and we had invoices that were caught in there. And by the time we figured out how to deal with all of those things to get past due, as well as in the departments, transportation and maintenance, we had turnover with some of those people, our staff, but yet that's a change for them in process because they were used to doing everything differently and not having the centralized procurement and accounts payable piece. So, you know, it did take us a while, to work through all those problems. And I will tell you that we actually asked our OS3, who is in Christie's office, in the project management office, to pick up helping to enter invoices. We had her entering Schoolway Cafe invoices, and she started a couple of weeks ago with 800 invoices that still needed to be processed, just for Schoolway Cafe. She, a couple of days ago, was down to about 300, but that was with all new invoices coming in. So she's processing about 100 a day, just to give you an example of the volume that we're dealing with. So, you know, we have all of these capital projects that are going on, which, you know, that's not something that everybody in accounts payable had to deal with. So while we've been ramping that up, it's still all new system. You know, it's not just going in there and doing your same old process and move on to the next thing. It's a whole new way of doing business for all of these people that are involved in the departments. There was a little glitch where people would receipt, but they wouldn't perform the next step, put away. So something, although the person thought it was receipted and they were done and it could go to be paid, it wasn't. So they were looking for payment, and yet they still hadn't really receipted it. So little things like that, that's follow-up and training, and you know, trying to identify those issues that are common, and you can identify that, well, we might need a little more training here because we're seeing that over and over again. So I think that we're getting caught up. Have we solved everybody's issues? Absolutely not. Are we still behind in some payments? Yes, but you know, we encourage people to communicate that, because unless we know that there is a problem, we can't help to resolve it.
Do we have any idea of how far, like, what's our oldest bill that has not been paid as of yet? You know, are we 90 days out from paying, 120 days out from paying individuals?
No,
I don't have that data. One of the changes is, and I'll back up just a little bit, and I don't know whether we can get you that information. One of the changes is our vendors are used to getting paid fairly quickly. I mean, real quick, within several days or a week afterwards. By statute, we have 30 days to pay the invoice once we receive it. So if they were delayed a week or 2 weeks, it's longer than normal, so they thought they were behind. But We do have, and we have identified several that were several months behind, 3-4 months behind paying them. Anytime, and like Deb said, it was either we didn't receipt it correctly or whatever, and then they come back and say, I've never been paid. We elevate that immediately to Deb's team to actually get that printed fairly quick and get them paid. To my knowledge, I'm not sure exactly, and I'll find out, or we can find out what's our oldest invoice currently right now that we haven't paid, but we're trying to stay on top of that, and that's my team looking at. I put the invoice in, hasn't been paid yet. Now we get view back so they can see the payments. If a vendor calls us, we can go back and track all of that. So we've made those changes over the last couple of months to make sure we're staying on top of that to move forward. And we are calling our vendors as well, calling our vendors as well, telling them we are making changes. So if we are behind, let us know so we can work with them. And for the most part, they're understanding where we are and that we're trying to be good stewards and get them the payment as soon as possible.
And all our construction invoices, they have different due dates. They're due more quickly. We have a shorter turnaround time on those. Some office depot, for instance, I think we have 45 days on those. So it varies, but we basically pay everything upon receipt of the invoice. Right. So as long as there are no issues with the invoice, then we're paying them to make sure we have that quick turnaround time. But for instance, we had another issue that while it was related to the system, it wasn't necessarily related to Oracle, but we had closed out purchase orders in maintenance prior to year end that should have been carried over. And so in July, we had invoices that were trying to get paid against purchase orders that were no longer open. So we had to go through that whole process. I mean, a lot of it, there's a lot of change that, it has to be managed and everyone has to be on board and communicating what the issues are so that we can resolve them as quickly as possible.
So just to reference where you talked about Schoolway Cafe having 800 and her office specialist now has taken over processing that. So where was the breakdown in Schoolway Cafe that they were not processing it themselves? Did they lose people or they didn't have anyone? I mean, because I'm assuming prior to this, Schoolway Cafe has managed to process their own invoices and get everyone paid.
Well, it's AP that's processing them, but because they had so many new invoices and were working in a new system that they were unfamiliar with, and then we had the OCR issue, so we got log jammed with that. So just trying to get caught up, that's what she's assisting with. I mean, once we're caught up and once we've become used to the system, then our finance director, Mrs. Trawick, feels that, we will be okay. But we have, like I said, enlisted anybody that we can to assist us to get caught up.
Okay. Mr. Cologne, you had a...
So I have a question. So the implementation of this portion of the system was supposed to happen in April. Then we moved it to January or July.
You're talking about phase 2 or phase?
No,
Phase
just
one.
the
Phase 1 was initially July of 18. We had the issues with Cherry Road staff turnover. So Cherry Road projected that we could move it to April 1st of 19. The district chose to move it to July 1st because that was the start of a new fiscal year.
And so now we're looking at January, and again, I'm just talking about this very first piece of it. And so to hear that we're still challenged with it is a little bit concerning, a lot concerning.
Well, the first piece is live now.
Right, but it's not working. And so for something that...
It's working.
Well,
it's working.
Okay.
It's not fully working. There are still challenges, yes.
So it's not working.
But we are doing...
It's not fully working.
Correct.
So with that being said, are we still using, are the deliverables from Cherry Road, who has served as our project manager for all of this, are they being paid for fee for service, or are we going to have to pay for the fact that this is so delayed out? And because I have a lot of concern with the way this project was managed. And I come from this world. And so to hear the uncertainty still, I mean, I get, we want to say it's partially working. It's either working or it's not. And we've invested a lot in these delays, and again, I'm only speaking of this first part here, which is probably the easiest part. And so is Oracle or Cherry Road, are they reimbursing us for some of these delays that, or are we still paying money out, you know, because this isn't working? I mean, it's, if you take your car to the mechanic and you leave and it's still not working, that's a problem.
If I may,
Yeah, please.
I'll address this in a general way, and then they'll give you specifics, because I had much the same questions. After reviewing the scope of the contracted duties and responsibilities, there was a set that was supposed to be done by Cherry Road. And then there was another set that was supposed to be done internally with our own staff. What I would say from the standpoint of how this was arranged and estimated and calculated is that Cherry Road has basically fulfilled what was in the contract for them to do on time. What happened on our side was there was an overdependence upon our own district staff to complete tasks that either they were not capable of completing and didn't know it, or when they opened up the lid on our customized system, the list of changes, the list of things that needed to be done kept expanding. So what they had anticipated was not the case, and then they couldn't do it. In some cases with Cherry Road, they were given very specific tasks based on this list. So when that list changed, for a while, they absorbed part of it at no cost. Then it became clear that the balance of these two contracts with who was responsible for what was so imbalanced that the circumstances changed. So we were addressing both our original misestimates of what would take place because we have a very over-customized system that's evolved over 20 years, and most of the people that built it left. And as we discovered, almost nothing was typical. And the systems we were buying into assumed some level of normal operations and scope because it's applied everywhere. And that's one of the things with an Oracle-based system. The closer you can come to plugging it in and watching it run, the better you are. The customization process is very difficult. Our system was customized, had 1 million patches. So it was, their scope of service that we had contracted for was not adequate. They absorbed part of it, but there was still glitches that they're discovering. And then our side of it was hopelessly, ended up being, you know, it was a good intention, but once they got inside, it was very different than what the scope had been expected. So they can offer you details on that, but that's the general, I think that's a general answer to where you're going with it.
And so I want to piggyback on that. So I think that's a little disheartening to hear, because when we started down this path in 2016, and then in April 2017, when we had our first presentation, we had another presentation on April 11th of 2017. We had one May 23rd of 2017, and at that time, 3 of us was here. One of my main questions were, do we have, number one, the skill set to do what we're trying to do? Number 2, has Cherry Rose, or whoever we select, because we had not selected at that time, have they been able to really look at our system to give us a true assessment of the cost? Then when we actually signed the contract in July 25th, 2017, that was my question again. Have we had a true assessment of the cost? At that point, we gave an additional $1 million to complete this task. We were at, I believe, 4.6. We went almost to $6 million.
Yes, we did.
So to sit here today and to hear what you just said, that's disheartening, because we were very clear of what is the true cost. And I know, just based on experience of dealing with this, things like this can get out of control quickly. They gave us a Gantt chart. They told us Cherry Rose said what they needed to do, and everybody was clear. This is a hard pill to swallow.
And to add to what Mrs. Wright has said, we also agreed to pay our employees, as employees went to be trained, we had to hire new employees to take their places. So we did add more to our budget to replace those workers as well. I don't know, was it not enough? Did some of those people decide that they didn't want to be part of it, who were trained? I think what we're trying to find out is where was the breakdown? Where did we as a district fail? Because I know what's coming up at the end of this, and it's costly for us. And if it is something that what you recommend, if we do that, my first thought is, are we going to also have more costs this time next year? So already we've had delays and more costs added to it. We just want to make sure if we can stem the tide and just make sure we get some solid ground, because it seems as though we've been on shifting sand. And we're not putting blame, I don't think, so much, as just that we have a lot of concerns also about our future as well.
Well, and I completely understand your feeling. I mean, those are our feelings as staff as well. What I can say is that, you know, the contract that we had, the district responsibilities were standard. What we didn't know really was our inability to extract all of the data and conform it, transform it to all of the Oracle templates, as well as single points of failure where there are only one or two people who have that knowledge to be able to do it. So we had one or two people that were responsible in the financials to handle all of this data and handle it in within the due dates. So while we did try to get assistance, we lost a couple of people. We lost somebody that was managing the interfaces. That person left. We had somebody who was working on the reporting. They left. And we run into, and also, yes, our systems manager left. So we lost 3 people within the last 6 months that really were integral to the system. And so that definitely set us behind, in addition to the fact that implementing the SIS system, that some of those people were pulled off the ERP project to go and handle some of the transportation issues that interface with the SIS system. So again, it goes back, a lot of it, to the number of staff. And, you know, we've talked numerous times about the fact that we don't compete with private companies in salary. So to go out and say that we can hire people with the most knowledge is an understatement for the district. And that's quite frankly why we lose people, because we can't pay them and they learn and then they go and work for other employers and are paid much more. So, I mean, it's not just one, specific circumstance that we can point to. But, to say that, until you get into the task, that you really can't evaluate what you don't know is going to be required.
So, Ms. Mueller, with that being said, and so I'm not blaming anyone, but I will say both of our vendors, we did ask them to look at our system and give us an assessment. So were they unable to give us a true assessment based on what they were able to see? And I see Cherry Rose sitting here, so I'll let Cherry Rose answer themselves, because that was one of the questions. Based on our system, because it was antiquated, to look at the system and give us an assessment.
Yeah, I would agree. At the time, whenever we were going through this, and I was not here at that point in time, so I'm trying to go back on some notes, et cetera, so I apologize, I don't have specifics. But at that point in time, with the understanding as to how you guys were set up, we made a lot of assumptions because of the way that we thought certain processes were going to be set up and working. As soon as just kind of to go back onto what Deb was saying, as you kind of got into more of the details, okay, we have to address this particular thing, It's like, oh, that was not how we thought this was done at all. You know, this is a way more manual process than what we had assumed. And so it's those type of things that were challenges that would come up all the time.
Just what you said, though. The board asked for a true assessment. Why didn't Cherry Rose come back at that time to tell us what the true assessment was? That is my concern.
At this point in time, I don't have the answer to that one, because I wasn't here at that point in time. I can definitely go back to the people that were here at that point in time to see if I can get a proper answer for you.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, not a problem. Thank you.
That was the point in time that we had all the Cherry Road turnover. I think that when Joe came in, he was actually brought in to manage the HCM, the phase 2 piece. And he became our 4th project manager. And not only that, but we had turnover in the general ledger leads as well. So I think that was part of it, is we were saying, you know, you're not completely understanding our system, and then we would have turnover. And so, you know, we had to start the wheel all over again every time we brought in new people. I mean, they would have a week or two to meet with the current staff that were assigned to the project, but that didn't mean that when we started meeting that we didn't have to make changes and kind of start all over again with things. But as far as the interfaces, on the first change order, I think we had $168,000 that was just for design of interfaces that we tried to cover every interface when we did the RFP and said, these are our interfaces. The $168,000 was for additionally identified interfaces plus another $100,000 for reserve. So, you know, part of it is the number of interfaces that we have that needed to be developed by Cherry Road. And that doesn't include the interface statement of work that we had to pay to the third-party developers in many cases to assist us, you know, to do their piece of the interfaces. So that, you know, about $250,000 was actually related to that, and that wasn't really any fault of anybody. It's just as you go through and you start talking about the processes, you realize that, well, this is an interface. You know, it's an interface even though you don't realize at the time it was.
Okay, Mr. Colon.
So I'll challenge my colleagues to think of this way. This is a used car. I'm a visual person. We're continuing to spend money to fix the used car. At some point, we have to stop, go to the dealer, and get a new car. And I think that we'll have an opportunity with the new superintendent to see what his thoughts are. I also believe that it's time, you know, I understand and appreciate what you said about we don't have the money to pay these folks, but we've spent, I don't even want to say the number because I'll probably get it wrong. We could have afforded a lot of people to help with this. However, we're spending it on delays. And so I think that we may just need to stop, go back to the drawing board to hear that there was an assumption made. Nobody makes assumptions in our business. Assumptions in IT can be very costly, as we are witnessing here. And basically, you know, start over, you know, and again, this will be an opportunity for the new superintendent to put his feelings on it. We all know that there's been mention of an informatics officer or information officer, technology officer, but we can't continue to keep paying this kind of money with the track that we're on. This is not panning out. We're dealing with, and all due respect to you, sir, because I realize you weren't here, neither was I. So that's the good news. But this isn't working. And we can keep putting money into this used car, but it's just going to cost us more in the long run. I could see this stopping. Obviously, we still have the Oracle project. Getting project managers that know what they're doing to help carry our side. I promise you it's going to cost us less than $1 million to get this project where it needs to be, to get off of assumptions, to get off of, you know, some of these interfaces. And I'll share this because, you know, in our hospital, our system is very customized. We take patches every 2 weeks. It's very customized, and it is so customized that when our EMR company comes up with a new update, which is amazing, it breaks our customization. And so we're having to make decisions because we've got lots of different silos that don't work together. And so now we're looking for a platform that works together 10 years later. I will tell you that's somewhere near a $5 billion investment to do that in our organization, but we realized we had so much customization that it's killing us. And 10 years later, we're making some big decisions. And so we could keep talking about this, but this just needs to be reset, in my opinion, because the relationship with, the vendors who've led us to where we are today, I think it's, in my opinion, at best been a little deceptive. To hear the word assume kills me. And, and I think our new superintendent may have a vision and may have someone who can guide us into where we're going, because this is kind of cost. They'll be here with this same model. They'll be here next year saying the same exact thing. That's my thoughts, and that's it. Sorry.
Jamie? Ms. Haynes?
So, I wasn't on the board when this all started, but I was on the flip side and sat through some of the first meetings where information was being gathered to try to figure out how to do this. I think what's the most disheartening piece to me is also the assumption piece, because my question really is, and he can't answer it, is it a matter of Cherry Road did not look at our system, or were they not allowed to look at our system? Like, were we not open and said, come look at our system? Because I've lived on the other side where sometimes we've not been open, and I'm not saying that probably it's a combination of both pieces that's helped bring us here. I know that last spring when we were asked to put forth more money, we went on the high end because I remember saying, I don't want to continue to keep doing this. I don't want to do 100,000 now, and then you're back for 150. So I think we did another 400 at that point or whatever. But, and I go back to this. I don't know that originally we put the right people in place to oversee the project. And yes, there's been turnaround. There's been a lot of turnaround in the last 6 months, but this has been going on since started in 2016, has been going on since 2017. We were already supposed to be live before we get to the last 6 months where now people have exited. So I will say it out loud. I believe a lot of the exit was because they knew where we were going to be, and they exited so that it wasn't sitting on their shoulders, or they weren't the ones having to sit here to tell us that it's now not working. I'm sorry, I'm honest. I don't hide things, but I'm very frustrated also because when we get to these next few slides and we look at the options, and I mean, the highlight to me of the options coming up is somehow you're finagling that Rose Pendleton's going to stay, which that's the most positive thing in those options, in my opinion, or Bertie Trawick's going to stay, or whatever you're doing there, because we're getting ready on June 30th to lose the brains that have the knowledge. And then where are we going to be? I mean, but to continue to keep throwing money at this with no relief in sight that it's really ever going to work, or that we're ever going to get to the point that it works. And here's the thing, I don't believe it's all one-sided that got us here. I think we have to own a part of this, and we've got areas or departments here that have to own it. Maybe some that didn't step up to the table to learn or do their part. But then I think also with the companies that we hired, I don't think that they, we may say they've done their part that they were asked to do, but I don't think so when we have to say there's an assumption, or we assumed you guys had this or did this. But I mean, this is money that we're putting into this that we're taking away from other areas for why we're here.
Well, if I could just address that, I want to make sure that we're understanding that there are two different pieces. So phase one is live. There have recently, because some of the issues that we've been having with the financial piece, we're addressing with Cherry Road, and we said there are things that are not working, and it is a deliverables-based contract, so they are guaranteed to make it work. So some of the problems in reporting and with the budget, they have had to make work, and they have brought additional staff in to help us with that. We've had a new resource that is located in Tampa that's a technical resource. We have someone who is on the Philadelphia City Schools job that's been looking at our configurations, and another person that is helping him that is on site this week. So we believe that in that area with some of the configurations that we may have to go back to Cherry Road and say that you were responsible for this, you were responsible for the delays and the additional time and effort on the part of our staff as well. But phase one is live, and the interfaces fall to our staff. That is not a Cherry Road issue, that is a Volusia County Schools issue. To say that we should abandon phase one in our financial system, we have people that have project fatigue across the district with the ERP financials. And I, for one, am not ready to recommend that we abandon Oracle for what is actually live and close to working the way it's supposed to. And I don't know how Greg feels. I mean, we've been, he's been close with us evaluating all of these remaining pieces. But as you mentioned, some of our directors will be leaving from financial services, and it is a lot of the brains, but they weren't the leads on the project. The leads were the people that are going to be here, the ones that need to own the system moving forward, because they're the ones who will be left working in it. So they've learned a lot. Is it going to be a lot of institutional knowledge that we lose? Absolutely. It will be a big hole. 2 of them do have to leave at June 30th because they're in drop. One of them can be extended through December 30th, and that's Rose Pendleton, our payroll director, who has definitely agreed that she will do that if that's what we need. But yes, we are losing those people. I want to clearly delineate, though, that from phase 2, because phase 2 is the payroll and the human resources. And there are many pieces that are already completed with the human resources, the evaluation systems. Those have been tested. They aren't obviously in production. Some of the delay in the financials as well was getting the payroll journals out of Crosspoint, which originally when we were going to go live with both phases on July 1st, we needed something different. Now we needed to develop this interface for the Crosspoint journals to go into Oracle. So that was another piece that's taken a long time. That's internal staff. So there's no blame. There's no blame on one specific area. But I think that we have to look at these 2 different areas separately, because I don't think we can just say we're ready to throw out the whole system and start over.
And that wasn't what I meant to say. What I meant to say is from a project management standpoint of resetting.
So,
Not necessarily getting rid of anything that's working and we have right now, but, and again, this is something that, I believe our new superintendent will help us, because at the end of the day, he's the operational person for our district, and, if it's determined that, our relationship can continue with who's helped us up to now, but I'm not saying throw out the baby with the bathwater. All I'm saying is, we just can't continue to, this project management just honestly almost seems non-existent as far as project management. And so I think that we'll have a better direction under new vision, because I don't know that we can just keep, this isn't working, and at some point we have to stop and decide, okay, I got to get rid of the the Buick, you know, and get a Toyota, I don't know.
Sure.
So, anyways,
If I may, just to give you a notion of this, I did not think this was going to be a joyful experience going through where we are. The purpose was to give you a complete and honest perspective on where we are today. I will tell you that when I came here, I was very uplifted by some of the things that were working and on schedule. And then I was very discouraged, as all of you have voiced, with what wasn't and why wasn't it. And I did feel like, and this has to do with management, I did feel like that although it was very technically correct kind of process for planning, that we had a division of labor among several different groups and vendors without someone who was in charge of it all. In other words, there was no point person who took charge and said, wait a second, this group here is working really well, this group over here is behind, how do we pull everybody together and find out what's really happening? And I think what the team was trying to explain at a point certain in my tenure, I said, we can't go on like this. This is almost exactly what you said. We cannot go on like this. We either need to figure out exactly what's wrong, how to fix it, the time span to fixing it, the cost to fix it, and take it to the board, or we need to unplug this. And that was a very difficult, discussion. And so I assigned Greg and Deb to be those leaders that were lacking in the past. Not that there wasn't any leadership, but it was leadership in isolation and fragmented. And I said, bring everybody together and do an honest analysis, and then we have to make a decision. And so there were many intense meetings, some of which I was a part of, some of which I wasn't. I met with the president of Cherry Road to get some assurances on some services we would get for free because of the situation. And then the team, as Greg tried to allude to, came up with a prioritized list, what needs to happen, what can happen, etc. And so what they're presenting to you, it was never anticipated this was going to be a positive, lighthearted tweak of what was going on. It's really an autopsy of what went very wrong and then what it's going to take to continue the path, especially when there's no clear alternative path. In other words, I love your analogies. This analogy would be you're 3/4 of the way across the channel swimming. You don't have enough strength to get back. And so what's it going to take to finish the last quarter? Or are you going to say drowned? Because the other option is likely to be exceedingly expensive, and you'll end up with a system that doesn't have the potential that the system we're working on. However, I do agree with you that the new superintendent, he has been briefed on all this. I've had several discussions with him, so that he's fully aware of where we are, and he may have a vision, and he may have a plan that you wish to address, but I thought it was very necessary for you to understand where we are today with complete transparency, so that you could consider whatever comes next. And if the new superintendent doesn't want to bring this to the board on December 10th, I'm sure he won't. If he reviews all this and decides this is the best step forward, he'll be primed to do that. But today's a workshop. So we're just trying to be honest and present you with where we are and what we think can happen. And then obviously you'll get to make decisions, and Dr. Fritz will make a decision about what happens next.
Thank you, Mr. Egner. Just 1 minute. No, go ahead, and then I'll speak after.
Before I forget, I am a senior, so Mr. Cologne, you mentioned that when did we reset? We reset, and like Mr. Egner just said, brought everybody in, many meetings, to find out exactly what our concerns are with Phase 1, and we're doing that. We did the same thing and looked at in detail Phase 2 and laid that out on a time scale on exactly how long it's going to take us based on the staff we currently have in place to be able to get that work done. We also talked about, and we are going to move in this direction, is we're going to bring staff in and basically put them in a silo to group that group together to resolve these issues. And that's either it's Cherry Road and us getting together to resolve the issues moving forward to get this to be successful. I mean, I wanted to make sure that you understand. We know exactly where we are. It is like the autopsy. We're laying it all out there. We know things are bad. We're trying to fix those things currently right now, doing transplants and moving on with where we're at.
And I appreciate you saying that, and it's not a point of blaming, that's not
No, ma'am,
purpose.
it's not at all.
I think the concern is for all of us, and you say phase one, you're talking about the ERP. But there's also assist, and assist is still not working properly. So we hear all of that. So we're getting bombarded with, well, report cards didn't go out on time, can't get into grading, parents saying they can't see the, I mean, there's so many issues. And now we're adding another layer, compounding to say, oh, by the way, we need another $1 million. That's the issue.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I hear you. I know you're frustrated. I know everybody else that is involved. The two entities may be. Again, the only thing I said, that is why I wanted both of them to have access to our system. So they should have been able to do a diagnostic of where we were and really to give us a true evaluation of what it was going to cost us when the three of us were sitting here. That's what we asked for. Because now we're here 3 years later, and we're probably almost $1.5 million more than we started. And that's really hard to sell to your constituents. And I mean, we're taking away from our babies. It's money we could use in the classroom. Go ahead.
And, I appreciate what you're saying about the reset, but again, working in this world, you're gonna do the best you know how. Project managers are never fun. They're never favorites. These are people who have a project. This is what they do for a living. They approach it from a project standpoint. And so, again, I appreciate the work that you've done, but I don't know that you all are the right people, whether it's technologically, whether it's to make that. So you've done the best you can, and I truly appreciate that. But when I mention reset, it's getting the right people to, and again, I work with project managers all the time. They're not fun. They really aren't. They say, we need it by this day. This could be a go or no go. And if it's a no go, you better have a good reason, because as a project manager, I have to explain to my superior why this isn't happening. And so, with all your other duties that you have, I appreciate that you've taken it on, but you're not the right folks to do this. And so my point is that we're continuing to spend this money because we couldn't afford the right folks, and I think we'll still continue to spend that money and so I think that's where our new superintendent can take this and kind of reset and maybe come back to us with what is determined at the time to be the best moving forward. My thoughts, and
Okay. And so to respect our presenters, I don't want to just cut them off in the middle of their presentation.
No, by all means, no.
I would like for them to bring forth your recommendations, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we would like to go ahead
Please.
and kind of continue if we can at this moment. And
Sure.
We'll answer any other questions you may come up with at that point in time. Deb, do you want to go over the human capital management?
So the phase two, the HCM, which is the payroll and human resources piece. Originally, right now go live was scheduled for 1/1/20. We've completed the parallel one and UA2, the user acceptance testing for the non-payroll areas. We've completed much of the training materials for the training. Obviously, there may be some potential changes that have to be revisited. The payroll parallel 1.5 is where we have not completed it in a timely manner. So struggling internally with the data. We did hire somebody that was a cross-point manager, was retired from there, and brought him in to assist us with that data and transforming it into the correct templates for Oracle. But that is where we have continued to struggle and have been unable to transform that data properly. So one of our recommendations at the end is to have Cherry Road assist us in that process. So there would still be knowledge transfer that has to occur from our staff to the technical resources from Cherry Road, but they would transform the data into the Oracle templates and then load that data as part of the reset. Some of our challenges is we have seen that configuration is a moving target, and I think it goes back to people that are familiar with the legacy system and wanting the new system to work like the legacy system works instead of implementing plain vanilla. And we have struggled with that. If you have only done this and you've only worked here and you only know this is the way that our system works, it is sometimes difficult to look at those new systems and really imagine how the system will process. I mean, and this is payroll that we're talking about. We're talking about people's paychecks. And no matter what we do, we have got to have the time to completely test the system, make sure that it's configured correctly. From our standpoint, we need to revisit all of the elements to make sure that we have correctly configured them, and test it and test it and test it so that when we do go live, that we will have that ability to make sure with confidence that those paychecks are correct. As I mentioned, there's the transformation piece, and then there's also a validation report that when we did the parallel 1.5 validation, we had a report that was generated internally that had over 1,000 lines and made it very difficult to analyze 150 people. So we took people that aren't plain vanilla, all the different scenarios of staff, and they had, there were over 1,000 lines to evaluate and to try and determine why they didn't match what was coming out of Oracle as well as what was coming out of Crosspoint. So that would be one request that we have, is to invest in Cherry Road to develop this validation report that would make it easier for our staff and them to review the data, because we're looking at over 8,000 people when we try to review the full parallel, which is parallel 2. And so what our key elements are that we would like to allow for is to continue, as I said, to review the elements and lock down the design. And you mentioned Rose Pendleton's impending retirement. It would allow for her to be here until the end of December, as well as hire a new payroll director with some overlap to become familiar with the system. Also, at the end of the calendar year, December, we have 2 weeks off. We have W-2s. We've been challenged with hurricane payments, retroactive payments, so back-to-back payments in December for payroll. The 15th and the 22nd are payroll dates in December. So right now is a challenging time, but like Greg said, our intention is 3 days a week to have the people that are assigned to test and to finish the configuration in a room on the 3rd floor full-time, with access to Cherry Road staff as needed to finish this configuration and testing. So we have people from technology services, from HR, from our staffing department, and from payroll to assist in that, and from benefits as well. The options that we've presented would be to go live July 1st, 2020, October 1st, 20, which would be a quarter, the 2nd quarter, or move it a full year to January 1st, 21. When we've already expanded past our time to really lock down the design and start testing, because we would have needed to start in October with the testing, and we're now obviously in the middle of November. So we've lost about 6 weeks as Greg and I really, explored the issues and met with staff So July 1st of 20, we feel at this point is not giving us enough time. October 1st of 20 is not the ideal, a first quarter. July 1st or January 1st is the best when you're looking at payroll, either a calendar year or a fiscal year because of the reporting. So those are our three options, and Joe Fitz can really talk through how those options are affected by the different dates.
Sure. And one other thing I'd like to add too, just to kind of add some of the conversation that was kind of going on. A lot of the, as Deb was mentioning, allow for the time period of lockdown configurations. As we've kind of gone through the payroll parallels, and we're still trying to go through that part, we're still finding out brand new stuff that's coming up. Well, you didn't think about this particular widget on a Blue Monday type of thing, and it's like, well, we didn't know about that. And so it's one of those things where, as we're kind of getting through those pieces, even though we've gone through all of our requirements months ago, these things will keep coming up as we're going through this process, particularly a lot of stuff with payroll. And that's just kind of been the frustrating piece. It's like, well, we're not sure about that piece, and then you kind of have to go back and, okay, how does this conflict with anything else we've already currently set up? And so that's been a lot of the frustration of kind of going back and forth. So as Deb was mentioning, on a lot of these different options here. So the first option would be to try to go live on 7/1. Considering the timing, which Deb was just mentioning, it would be a huge stretch to get there, particularly related to the pieces of trying to lock down the requirements between October and December. We're very, very short left on that time period now, and to try to make sure that we had the proper staff associated that was locked down in this particular room to go through all those pieces. It's just extremely tight to get that done. And then related to everything else that's kind of going on, which Deb mentioned with Rose and everything else going on throughout the end of the year, the timing just to get everything set up for that piece. So if we were to go down this particular road, try to go 7/1, try to get everything, all the configurations done, but by the end of December, trying to get up and running for the prep work and everything ready for between January and February, to prep up the environment to get everything ready for Parallel 2. That's the assumption that we go live with, that we're moving forward with the 7/1. We'd start the Parallel 2 process, an intense process between March and May, trying to get up through the rest of the training, through everybody within the county between May to June, and then go live in July of 20. That's an extremely aggressive time frame considering all the pieces that Deb was kind of mentioning this before. Some of the pros and cons, which again Deb's kind of mentioned a lot of those already. Didn't want to read them for you. You guys can read those right there. But again, it's really just the extreme pressure of trying to get everything done with Rose leaving as of 7/1. I know she's in the process of trying to have her staff trained up on some other things right now, but that's the intention of the option 1. Option 2 would be to stretch this out to the beginning of the fourth quarter. That would allow to finalize a lot of the requirements as we're kind of talking about. So instead of being just done in December, kind of start in December and finish up in March, and that'll allow us to kind of get through a little bit more of that time, still allow Rose and her team to kind of move forward and stabilize on that. We would then try to schedule Parallel 2 between April and July. Again, a little bit longer time period for there, considering all the resource constraints. It's going to be rough on getting everything cleared up at the end of the year and trying to get them devoted to the parallel testing there. And then the training activities would then go live between August and September, and then go live with payroll and HCM the October time period. Again, a lot of the same pros. Allows a little bit more time for the testing to be done, a little bit more time for succession planning, a little bit more time for validation of the parallels, and actually get other people involved in the parallel process besides just Rose. Again, as Deb's mentioned, the longer you kind of push these things out, the project fatigue, of course, continual processes of dual entry into both systems. Another thing which kind of adds to, not necessarily a con here per se, but there are some, as Deb was mentioning before, with Oracle, you get different functionality that's released to you every quarter. And I know that coming up in August 2020, there's a big change in some of the processing in how you actually load some files. So that's gonna have to be addressed as part of their process that they're gonna be trained up on. The option 3 would then be to push this out to January 1st, and that would allow the team to get a little bit more time frame, getting them set up and running through the configurations and everything, but all the way through April, and actually start parallel to probably May, June-ish time frame, and be wrapped up with that probably late September, early October, trying to wrap up the September through November for all the training of all the staff, and then that would actually put us at a go live probably December 19th, 20th, in that time frame. I think is at that point you're going to be then on Christmas break at that point, but the intention would be to go live at the very end of December. So then when everybody would come back on January, that would be the intention, that everybody would be up and running. Again, kind of speaking of what Deb had mentioned before, I think one of the pros here, definitely going to 1-1, would be the simplicity, that removing some of the issues with tax conversions, and because you're starting out on a brand new year, so we would alleviate that for the whole project team as well. And I think I don't think we ever, again, I wasn't part of this conversation whenever we were kind of talking through this, but a lot of this stuff, I know the cost is associated with this as well, but a lot of this is actually bringing down the Cherry Road staff to half-time on a lot of these to try to control costs. I don't know if you mentioned that as well, but that's kind of the intention. I know I sped through that too real fast, but I know that we were trying to run in a little bit long on time. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to go over anything else, Deb, or please feel free to jump in. So.
No, I think, Joe, that you have spelled that out. Are there any questions before we talk about the
Yes,
costs?
go right ahead.
I did want to make one quick comment that illustrates the kind of things that have been happening sort of unexpectedly, that really speaks to Mr. Clone, some of the things you were saying, that substantiates what you're saying, actually. When this project started and you were talking about the trainings that the board authorized and such, and I think I have my facts right on this, I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but we trained 5 project managers. In the last year and a half, 4 have left. The one remaining is Amy Hall.
No.
So that's incorrect?
Yes.
Who's left?
Pam Wellingham
Oh,
and Amy, but
two remain. So part of this has been a real issue with sustainable leadership. That is that person you talked about.
And they have other
Who
duties.
made things happen.
They have other duties as well, and so again, like you said, there's really no owner.
Yeah, they didn't at the time. Like Josh had SIS, and that's all his job was just SIS. And PM had just ERP, and that's all they had at that point in time.
And Pam has had to diversify to do, everyone who's left, the heroes that are still here are the staff that is here, who've tried to take on 100% of the project that they probably had 15% of when this all started. But as people have left, it's consolidated into what we have, which is why we are where we are. And I don't know how long it will take to change and expand from the place that we exist today. But to your point, that's been a real issue, is the people that are here are doing a fantastic job, but we've lost so many.
Mr. Persis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. This is like deja vu for me, because when I was on the county council, we had to redo the whole system, and we were told it was going to cost X amount of dollars. I think it was $4 million. They could end up costing $9 million before everything was set. People left. It's just like I'm hearing the same thing. I'm kind of like going back and rubbing my head. So it just gets to the point where we are, and it isn't any one particular fault. These things happen. Obviously, we underestimated how complex this was going to be, and it was underestimated by, I think, Cherry Road as well as our own staff. So now what I'm hoping, to get from you guys, since you're the most knowledgeable of where we are, I mean, if all these options cost the same, let's just say they were all, $600,000 for option 1, 2, or 3. I mean, is there any one option that is better than the other? I mean, I can read pros and cons and just like everyone else, but I mean, from a staff's perspective, which one do you think is the?
Well, I think that going to January 1st is always easier from a W-2 calendar year for payroll purposes. If we were going live July 1st for ERP and then 1/1 for payroll, we would have to have that interface. We already have that. So we don't have to develop an additional interface to get the cross-point data from the payroll into Oracle. We're already having to do that now. And I think 10/1/20, because as we mentioned, that's district-wide training. It entails employee self-service. So it's training everybody in how to enter their time, their leave, looking at their pay stubs and requesting changes to their records. And so I think that training everybody once they're already here and established in the fall makes sense. From that perspective, you can't train it too early, because if the system is not, the finishing touches aren't on it and they're not going to use it, then they're going to forget. I mean, we're doing just-in-time training so that once they're trained, then they begin to use it. But I think, as Joe mentioned, we will have to really be ready at the end of November of 2020 to go live, because staff has to start using the time clocks. They would have to start using that function prior to leaving for Christmas break, because that would be the first check in January that's paid. The difference between the 10/1 and the 11/1 is about $40,000. I think that does give us more time to say to you that we don't have to come back. We are going to do this. We are going to be live. We'll have substantial amount of time to test and retest. As well as, I think having Cherry Road's assistance in the conversion transformation piece, it is an additional $65,000, but that's probably the biggest piece in payroll that we've been struggling with, is just that conversion data. And if we don't convert the data properly, then it's not going to come out properly in Oracle, as well as that validation report that I mentioned.
Well, let me ask you this. So if you look at the first date, 7/1/20, and the other considerations, Cherry Road's assistance, so that Cherry Road's assistance, the $65,000, is that what their assistance cost, whether we go live 7/20 or whether we go live 1/1/21?
Yes.
So that's just a flat rate?
Yes. That entails Cherry Road staff, technical staff coming in, working with our staff on the data that we're getting out of Crosspoint, and transforming that to be put into the templates to then be loaded into Oracle. So the validation of all of that data.
Okay, and then the assistance with the validation report, that's the same too. So that just goes hand in hand. Right? So are you saying that we could not do this by 7/1/20?
I think that is our feeling at this point, because we have lost some time in, Greg and I meeting with the payroll team, and really documenting all of the issues that are still outstanding. So we've lost about 6 weeks. I mean, we were concerned about the 7/1 anyway, but really by the time we're able, it's not that we've stopped working, because there's more than enough to be working on, and staff have continued to do that. Some of the items that we identified initially 6 weeks ago have already been solved. Some of our bigger remaining issues that, you know, we had not discussed with Cherry Road and figured out those solutions. So we have made substantial progress, but I don't think that from a testing standpoint that gives us enough time at this point with the end of the year on us. I don't think that we can devote enough time. I mean, we have 2 days next week, and then, you know, payroll is into their year end, and that's a very time consuming with the back-to-back payrolls.
Right, so then it sounds like the only viable option is the January of 21.
And I agree with you. I think my only concern about that date, either if we go even January or even October, is that we're still doing a manual process with Crosspoint. And so that wouldn't stop until January, because currently you won't be able to use open enrollment for healthcare. The evaluation system we still couldn't use to the following year, correct?
Yeah, we used for our open enrollment this year, we used Aon platform. That did work pretty well, except for the split family. So we would continue on using that for the next year. And the same with the evaluation system. We would have to continue using that for one more year. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify too, the staff that is assigned by Cherry Road to work on those processes would be very limited. Those staff are pulled back because the majority of that work is done.
So on the piece where we want to pay Cherry Road $65,520 to basically take our data out of Crosspoint and put it into the new system, is that because we don't have anyone qualified to be able to do that?
So we have 2 people currently working on it right now with the conversion. I think this conversion is to assist us in getting it done. When you're talking about volumes of data to be able to pull. So the assistance with Cherry Road, and I think Joe can jump in and help answer the question as well, is this is going to help us to make sure that we get exactly right. The worst thing we could possibly do is get a payroll, when we go live, you get a payroll payment wrong for anybody. So testing all the way through is the best course of action for us. And then having Cherry Road help us with those conversions, looking at the tables, making sure we don't have any errors is going to be critical for us. So,
if I may, I think Ms. Haynes' question more to the point is, did we anticipate this was going to be a district task and was not contracted to Cherry Road, thus not part of the fees?
That is correct.
And we were not, for whatever reasons, we were not capable of fulfilling our side of the obligation to do that information transfer. So now, acknowledging that we failed to be able to do it and can't do it, we're having to contract it out. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, I think we have the expertise of pulling it out of Crosspoint. We don't have the expertise to put it into Oracle.
But we had anticipated we would handle that side of it, and now we can't.
And ultimately, we anticipated we would handle it because we were going to go live a year ago. Then we're going to go live this past. I mean, so it's taken us a long time to figure out we can't do it also, which is, I mean, there's a lot of things that have caused this delay, but you know, if this conversion piece is one of them, it's just sad that it took us till now to say, oh wait, let's go back and pay Cherry Road to do it because.
Well, I think it also goes back to that single point of failure where you have staff that is also trying to maintain our current system. you know, that's responsible for the cost report, that's responsible for when we have salary increases, having to prep all the data files and work on that. I mean, they're getting pulled off from the project. I can't say that, you know, these people, that's all they've been assigned to do. And that's part of the problem, is that we've tried to make transitions, but our current system is difficult, and I'm not the technical person to discuss this really, but my understanding is the current system has been coded and recoded to meet our needs. I mean, just look at performance pay and what that did to us. And so all of the code that's written for that it takes, somebody can't just walk in off the street and understand what was done and prep it for the new year when we do salary increases. So those people are pulled off for various other tasks that they're still responsible for. And while they have assistants, you can say, well, we're training them to do this, but how long are they going to be, we're not going to be needing it for that long. So, you know, it's not like they're handing over that job to that other person and say, okay, it's your job now. It's like we're trying to work through it as fast as we can, and working on the ERP as well.
I think one of the things that may have gotten a little bit lost in the conversation, but Mr. Clone, you kind of brought it up, and that is, per the conversations I've already had with Dr. Fritz and with staff, and to some degree I've alluded to you in several emails, where we find ourselves today is our information network services, IT, the vision we had was unrealistic. Understaffed, undertrained, and bleeding people like crazy. So as we progress with this, we find ourselves in this situation. It wouldn't do much good to pay a lot of money to get this working in a year and still have the same systems lack of support that we have today. Because if anything went wrong, we couldn't fix it. It's like I said, it's the mechanics on a Porsche that we need. So I think parallel to this, as I've started the discussion with you, I think we have to revise our whole IT system department. I think we need a chief information officer. I think we do have to be more realistic about funding. Otherwise, no matter what system we put in place, other than maintaining the broken one, which can't be serviced, and the people who knew the coding are gone and leaving, and then you don't have anybody left to make it work. If we don't fix that along the way, we will constantly find ourselves in the same situation over and over again. So I really do think one can't be considered without the other, which is why we were, Dr. Fritz and I were bringing to you the notion of a chief information officer who, once in place, can help evolve a new vision, which is commensurate with the systems we have in place that should be, once implemented, should be very effective. But that could mean you're going to be hearing a lot about this kind of thing for the future. But at least when you look at this and you see where we are and you see how we got here, I think you'll better understand why those changes need to happen, why that investment needs to happen. Otherwise, this won't be, no matter, if you unplug this today and brought in a new system, how would it be any different? You'd have the same set of people trying to do the same thing in the same environment, and do you think it's going to work better? And so that's the, you know, my philosophy of accepting reality and straight talk. That's what this was supposed to be about. Both things have to be done. This one is only more immediate because of the January date. I think the other needs to happen pretty immediately too, but of course, you know, Dr. Fritz will shepherd that.
Yes.
Yeah, could you just, is the $703,000, is that going to Cherry Road too?
Yes.
So this whole thing is going to?
784,000.
The 70, okay, thank you.
So my question is for Cherry Road. let's just talk for a minute about the conversion transformation piece. So you believe you can get all of the payroll data out of CrossPoint and convert it correctly into the new system at that price,
Yes, ma'am.
and not a penny more?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not gonna come back to us
No,
and say,
That's
well,
correct.
we got 2/3
correct.
of it out.
that's correct.
Okay. So looking at your $703,000 piece, what services are we receiving under this option 3 at $703,000? Because that's not the conversion. The conversion is a whole separate piece. What are we receiving for $703,000?
This is the extension of the team, so I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me. It's just you and Mike were going through this. It's the extension of the resources that are currently working on the project from this point on through January, half the time. And actually, we're bringing on somebody on site, which is what we were kind of talking about whenever they were going to have the people sequestered to a room up on the 3rd floor. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, actually having that person there to help them, to shepherd them through that point in time. But really, it's just the extension of the time for those resources for a year. That's really what it is.
So if we go this option and we go live on January 1st, what services will we still receive? Are there any services built in that we're still going to receive if we go live on January 1st and it doesn't work? Or are we going to be coming back with, okay, it didn't work and now we've got to write?
Oh, no, yeah, for January 1st, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, you were talking to Mike, but let's say we're going with January 1st, 2021, 703. It's the same kind of concept as we did for phase 1. So we are going live on that particular date. The issues are going to come up. We address those. Those are warranty items. Those are all part of the implementation costs. There's not an additional charge on those type of things to fix issues in the system. Anything that's new, of course, like say you want a new report that does wonders and spins and shines at you, that's something new, of course. But with the 703, it's the going to January 1st, 2021. It's the same services that we're applying now, and all the support team as of support for January and or February, depending upon how long we have payroll issues or HR issues or whatever, those types of things.
So what is the warranty?
Warranty are items that are part of the project that if we're going live and there are pieces that are not working, we have to address those because those are part of the implementation. We're still working through a few of those for phase 1 too, particularly related to all the templates. All the interfaces that are still being worked on. Those aren't being charged additional. Those are all part of the additional cost. So we're still working on those parts of things. We are still working on anything that comes up where if there was a configuration that was wrong of some kind, there's no cost associated to that because that's a screw up on us. We should have set it up properly in the first place. So that's kind of what a warranty definition is. Now there are maintenance items that come up where, for example, I'm just making up something. Let's say if somebody wanted a different process, a report that wanted it to route it from this person to this person. Well, that wasn't originally part of the original specs and how we set up everything. So that is a change or an enhancement or modification, and that would then be charged against the hours for support. So an hour here, an hour there, those type of things. I hope that helps.
And Cherry Road personnel are on site for at least 30 days after we go live to help us work through issues that we're having. That was the same with the ERP phase, that they were on site actually for more than 30 days, as well as, like Joe said, that we still have people on site now working through issues that we're having that is at no additional cost to the district until it's right. That's the deliverable model that we have. We don't have the time and materials where we're being charged every time we ask for, we have a problem. But they have to make it right, and they're not done until that time.
Okay. One other thing to add there too is we also are there for the first time events. So for example, we're going to go live January 21st, January 21. The first time that you would go through the open enrollment process, there's no additional cost there. That's part of the additional one-time service, just to make sure that the team and staff are, okay, we understand this process now. This is what we have to do for 2022, that type of stuff.
So, if you were to be honest,
Of course she's honest.
no, but I'm getting ready to ask a real tough question.
Listen, we waited.
You know, right?
I was gonna lie.
And I know that you haven't been here from the start. You're like some
Thank
of the
you
rest
for
of us.
understanding that.
Okay,
Yes.
I understand that,
Yes,
because you weren't the person when I was back on the other side.
yes.
What's the largest challenge you're going to face right now to actually get us to the point that this can go live in January of 2021? What do you see as the largest challenge?
My biggest fear is the resource constraints and actually making sure that we've got people that are assigned to the project and actually being able to address the issues. That's kind of been the biggest problem as things have come up, you know, as Deb and Chrissy have mentioned. I mean, things have come up and they're kind of pulled off on other things. And that's been the biggest hurdle of just trying to, you know, we need to get this stuff done by this date. Well, things come up and we didn't make that time. And so that's been the biggest challenge. And I think that's my biggest fear going forward is I mean, I can come up with plans upon plans, but until we actually are able to address and make sure that we've got people that are going to be dedicated for this particular 3 days, and this is what we're going to get done in those 3 days, that's my biggest fear. So my biggest fear is being able to devote those resources to getting those tasks done in those particular time frames.
Not your resources, but our
Both.
resources.
Both, but yeah,
Oh.
it's mostly on the VCS side.
Is there an area that you feel we're the weakest in? Where I mean, as far as our resources go?
Kind of talking back on what I think Greg and Deb both mentioned, I think there's a lot of bottlenecks. There's a one person type of thing. My biggest fear, just because I know that she's retiring, is Rose. I mean, Rose has a ton of knowledge, and Rose is very much wanting to understand everything like that. And I think the biggest thing right there, and I think we've all talked about this anyway, is just trying to make sure that as we move forward, because Rose is no longer going to be there,
Right.
we have to get those other people involved, and they have to be the ones that own it, and not Rose. That's just me personally. I think that's the biggest challenge, and I'm sure that's shared on this panel here. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just getting to the point of being able to where her staff is able to be comfortable in it and own it and move forward with it. I think that's our biggest challenge here. So
Well,
hope I
and-
didn't.
No. And in her,
Anybody.
no. I think the world of Rose Pendleton,
Yeah.
and she's phenomenal. And in her defense, she for quite a while had a real stable
I
staff.
completely agree with
But
you.
she's not had a stable
I
staff
completely agree
recently
with you.
either,
Yes.
which is not.
Yes.
I mean, she's lost some
Yeah, I
key
understand that as
people,
well. Yes,
so.
I understand that as well.
Yeah, she lost
Yeah.
two
Two.
people that were here
Yeah.
for almost 30 years. And so hiring new people and training them and being able to work on the ERP has definitely been a challenge.
Correct.
Even to hire new people, we had some turnover there
Yes.
with the staff. So, you know, you hire new people and they don't work out, and then you're starting over again. So we went through that. I mean, but now she's got really good people that, you know, have been there for about a year, so it's stable, but now we're getting close to Rose being retired, so it is a challenge, a daily challenge.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. I know these are all Cherry Road costs, but I would like to also know what costs we're going to incur ourselves with Volusia County Schools in order to have personnel to be trained, additional trained, or if we have to hire more people, and people who are going to stay with us. Because the loss of employees, it's the loss of our greatest resource. Besides students, it's the greatest loss of. Because I do know, and with another one leaving shortly, that cost just cannot be, you know, I guess it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. So I think we need to also rethink how we're going to utilize the staff and how specialized they are, and also respect them in a position and put them in an environment that they are appreciated and loved. You know, I don't want to get too sappy, but in a positive environment where they know they can live and grow and not be, I guess, blamed or attacked, or, you know, it's all your fault. You know, nobody likes the finger waving, but we need constructive criticism, but not criticism to the point it's going to drive people away either. And so we have lived in a different reality since May. I recognize it fully. I'm not happy with what's happened. And it's something that our district needs to change, which is why hopefully with our new superintendent, we will have a different point of view. We have some fabulous, fabulous people who work here. We need to recognize them more. And one unsung hero right now is Ms. McKinney, who is heading up our HR department. Ms. Pam Willingham, who is heading up our Oracle part, as well as we're also concerned about focus and all the different parts of focus that needs to operate. So while we are willing to invest in a vendor, we also need to invest in our own people as well. From a human standpoint, not just a payroll standpoint, because as a 30-year employee of Volusia County Schools, almost to 31, I think it's very important, and a lot of us here at this table have been employees of Volusia County Schools for a long time. It's important for us to have that pride and that respect for our employer. I was willing to run for office, even though I wasn't paid, as well as my neighbors. I had a neighbor who worked in Flagler County, elbowed me all the time. But see, to me, it was worthwhile because I had a contribution here. I was making a difference, and I felt it was worth it for my own self-worth. And that's what I think all those people who are slaving away on this project need to walk away. They may not be the highest paid, but they need to walk away with, I'm making a difference. And I think that too, we need to address, and just not salary, but a more investment in our own workers too. And no slight to Cherry Road. So.
No, yeah, no,
Okay.
I know we're kind of gone off topic, and I apologize if I'm going to go off topic quick, but I mean, just to talk to some of your employees, right? So we've had some struggles getting up and supporting for phase one, for example. A lot of the work, I mean, there's been a big change, Mike, to be honest with you, particularly with Eric and Pam. So yeah. I really, as a vendor and helping you guys out, I really do think you guys have finally got a really good team there in TS to kind of help moving you guys moving forward. I mean, there's been a huge difference, just in attitude and the way that they're going about stuff. So I just wanted to add that. I know it really doesn't come out in numbers or anything like that, but it is just talking to them and that they're getting it and they're understanding, okay, the bigger picture and those type of things. So I just wanted to give kudos to the team. I mean, to know that it's one of those things, just it does take time, and they are starting to kind of move the needle, so to speak. So just wanted to add that on there to your point about people.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'll add on to that, and I'll say it over and over. These are folks who did the best they could with what they knew how. And I have no doubt in my mind of any of that. But what we're talking about today, and this doesn't even include the fact that these folks have already gone to training, so that money is gone because they're going to have to retrain. And so I think that what's on the table is not so much the people aspect as much as it is the Cherry Road part of this. How much have we spent with Cherry Road to this point to get this working on January 1, 2020? What's been the total? I don't remember what the original, do we have an approximate?
The original contract cost was $5,237,000. That was for both phases, well, and the budget phase, which is a smaller piece, but that was for the total implementation.
Okay, that's a lot of money. And I think we've gone over since that about another 1.3, I think, is right about where we are. And so I was a little disheartened to hear the answer of what we're going to do in the next year, because all I heard was we're going to do the same thing we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. But we're going to add a few more people 3 days a week. Again, I think we need a reset. I think our new superintendent will have to consider whether this is a way to go or bring it back to us otherwise, because, I mean, that's a lot of money for something that isn't working. Because the deliverable was supposed to be January 1, 20, or this January. So those are my thoughts.
Any other comments? We want to thank you for your time, and I'm sure Dr. Fritz and Dr. Fritz and Superintendent Egner get together. I know they have both discussed a CIO. We probably will be seeing all of you again.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we adjourn, I'm turning it over to,
To speed, I talked to Bill Monford about the conference, and he excused Dr. Fritz from being there. I mean, that's probably a wrong way to say it, but he acknowledged that Dr. Fritz would not need to attend. They look forward to him coming. The ethics person that's in charge will reach out to Dr. Fritz and work out whatever has to be done. So he can be here in the district. I've already notified him by text, Dr. Fritz, that he's clear not to go to the conference.
okay, perfect.
Okay, so he's not going?
He's not going.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
That's fast.
Any other comments, concerns? If not, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. This meeting is adjourned.